Hello, everybody. I'm dropping the link because I'm here to talk to people. And I'm trying this multi aspect thing, but not on my channel because I don't want artifacts that I don't like hanging around. But I am here to talk. And probably got about an hour or so at least, although I might have more time later if anybody comes on and I can step away. Who knows? We might be able to go off all afternoon. So we'll see how everybody's doing. Right here, it's 12 o'clock in Texas, about lunchtime. Other people might be out and about in the afternoon on the East Coast or the evening across the sea or wherever they are. So come hang out. I'm going to look at the books that I have not read. I have a lot of books. I buy these books at Goodwill because they're cheap. And if I see something that I think might be interesting or, might be come in handy later on, I buy it. And so I haven't read a lot of these, but, I look at them. But even just sometimes finding out that a book exists can give you an interesting insight. Like, let me see, is there something weird here? What is it? Oh. Hello, Yoav.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. Greeting from Israel, where evening is set already.
Oh, okay. I only put the disclaimer on Jacob's channel, so.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Yeah. Having for 3 days. Well, the baby's coming on Tuesday.
Okay, so you're doing as much broadcasting as you can because you won't be able to do it.
Well, I'll probably be able to do more because I actually am going to be working from home. I had a little bit of a reduced schedule, and I'll be working from home. And the other kids are going to be at school, and babies sleep a lot, so chances are I'll be on here more. Maybe not for the next week or so, but I'll be around until pretty close to the end of the year. So yes, he shared this already. So
yeah.
Well, well, how was your Sabbath?
Pleasant. Starts with a meal on a Friday with my family. With we have a new baby, a year old now, and it keeps us entertained.
Yeah,
he's a kind of a comedian, kind of a baby, always looking for attention and doing shows for the adults. It's fun to be with. And Saturday I go for a walk on the beach.
Is that within walking distance, or do you have to?
It could have been in a walking distance if I wasn't lazy.
Well, so it was lazier to work than to not work.
Yeah, it's the first weekend when we have actual rain. It's the 15th of November is always the start of the winter in Israel. So we had first serious rain of the season. So everything was fresh. And next week is going to be hot again.
Yeah, we've started to get cold mornings, like 40 degrees or so, but by the time it's afternoon, it's 75 or 80 again. So I just collect sweatshirts in my car every day because I forget to bring them in at the end of the day. So at the end of the week, I have a collection.
Yeah. We don't have an autumn in Israel. It's just a fight between winter and summer, taking turns, and then suddenly, and then at last summer gives up, and you have a couple of months of winter, and then they start fighting for it again.
Yeah.
It's a good partisan kind of weather.
Yeah, that's probably about how it is here. It's basically 9 months of summer and 2.5 months of winter or something like that, and not much of a spring or a fall, but it's good. Well, it's okay. It's better than nothing. I don't know. I have mixed feelings. The first part of my life was dealing with the snow a lot more than I probably would have liked, but I did like the autumn quite a bit, and I do miss some of that. So I don't know. I think overall maybe a hot summer is better than a snowy winter, depending on how long it lasts. But sometimes it would snow in November and you wouldn't see the ground, just wouldn't see the ground again until springtime. So yeah.
Our layout is funny. It's sort of vertical, and you want to. In YouTube, it shows vertical.
Well, it's supposed to show both now. That's the new option that they have. So there should be another stream. I mean, so I guess it doesn't matter once you're in the studio. You're just seeing the StreamYard view.
Yeah. So you said there are two YouTube streams?
I put it on my channel and Jacob's channel, and then there's the Randos channel too. I don't know if anybody watches that one, but it lets you put it on 3 places. So try to see who's around and available. There haven't been as many people doing this on the weekends, so maybe people are out of the habit of watching.
I attended a broadcast by the Office of Secular Koranism this weekend. And it was the stream in which she was complaining that Paul van der Klee is blocking her. And she was trying to think, why is that that he's blocking her? And she completely misses the point. I mean, her statement was like that. I mean, Hyde Park Corner in the UK?
That's the one where everybody goes and talks or whatever? Yeah.
So she lives nearby, and she has the habit of going to Hyde Park Corner, and then you just have your arguments about whatever subject you want to argue about. And she likes it because it's businesslike. As she says, you don't ask how's the wife and how's the kids, and you don't have small talk. You completely get to the point of whatever the matter you want to discuss. And she completely misses the point of what Paul van der Klee is.
Yeah.
With Paul van der Klee, you start with how's your wife and how's the kids, and then you move on to small talk. And then if there is any spare time, you go into the subject.
Well, I mean, I think, that's the thing is all those different subjects, if they don't connect to that stuff, like it's not so important really. Or, I mean, everything is connected, but I think that's the thing that has been downplayed maybe for a long time is how do these different aspects of life connect to, whatever your private life or your personal life, or putting everything in its own little box. And I don't. It doesn't seem like it's such a good thing all the time. So, Lance, you should come on if you're around. We're just hanging out. Nothing fancy.
Yeah, but we should make. I still don't like this layout.
not that. That's not that.
I will see if I can change it. Okay. How is this? No, it changes for. Let me see.
Yeah, that just changed. Well,
No, it
can
doesn't
you
change.
see the? Can you see both of the?
No, it doesn't change. It just changes for us and it not for YouTube. YouTube.
Oh.
Anyway, YouTube is lagging a lot.
Well, can you see both the vertical one and the horizontal one on your
Yes,
screen? Oh,
yes, but that's not what they say in YouTube.
huh. Interesting. Well, even though, okay. Well, either way.
We need somebody more versed with the art of broadcasting. Don't know how it can to be. What is this button?
I was gonna, before you came, I was gonna look at the books that I haven't read and see if there's anything interesting. Because I said, I like to just find out about different books and then I buy them, even if I don't get around to reading them. And finding a book is an interesting enough thing just to know somebody wrote a book about something that you didn't know about. Most of these are Bible-y kind of ones, but this one has the font.
Mm-hmm. I haven't read a book in a very long time.
Yeah.
Certainly since the invention of YouTube.
Hmm.
Just given that on books altogether.
I try to make the effort. The only time I can really get myself to do it is right when I first wake up. If I try to do it like in the evening or whatever, my brain is too mushy, or at least not to read anything serious. So I try to read a little bit every morning. So just so I can get through some of these ones that people tell me are important. But I don't know. I have this idea. I don't know what you think about this, but because there's so many books that people say like are important, and people have like these different lists of like these are the foundational books that you should read. But I think maybe it doesn't matter whatever book it is. It's like the first several books you read, or the first books you read, maybe at a specific time in your life, whatever they are, those are the ones that are going to have the biggest impact on you.
Yeah, but that's always true. You always remember what you learned in a young age.
Mm-hmm.
The benefit for me is that I have read a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
Both my mother and my grandfather were managers of libraries. So I always had access to a huge library at home.
Mm.
So I was reading a lot. And so
the thing I think about is, because if everybody reads the same set, if you have like whatever, like the people talk about like the classics or whatever, and I guess, they're talking about Homer and Plato and then, I don't know, whatever it is, or maybe it's English literature or something like that, Shakespeare, and, there's lots of good stuff there. But if you get everybody reading the same list at the same time of their life or whatever, you're actually, it's creating a false idea that these things are like, these are the foundational texts. It's just because we've all agreed that they are, or whatever. And if people read more different texts, maybe you have to read some that are the same. Like I would say maybe everybody reads the Bible, and then everybody reads a bunch of other different things. You can compare and contrast what you gain out of those things in an interesting way. because to have the same list for everybody seems like you're trying to really create a very small culture, or you're really trying to enforce the boundaries of the culture that you allow to express itself.
But surely you need foundational texts where, everybody, an official handbook at least.
Yeah, well, that's why I said the Bible, but
or whatever book your, religion is.
Yeah, well, but as the canon of accepted books like grows, so I'm thinking about this, because they have these classical schools or whatever, and they are saying we want people to read the great books. So if you take like a kid's whole educational years, and all the kids are filling, all that time with the same books, you're hitting at the same formative moments. You're really, you are kind of restricting it. It's that would be the extreme, because if you have such a volume of books that everybody has to read, you're missing out on that's the balance, is between how much you should have in common with somebody else and how much your experience can differ, has a different effect.
Yes, but I suppose everybody, if they're from different religions and cultures, that they will have their different ideas of what their foundational texts are, and I suppose this is what you have to juggle with. It's like, well, which group are you talking about? Are you talking about your nation, and then there'll be the foundational texts of the founding fathers, or whatever it is, and then every American will be expected to know the history of the American Revolution, etc., etc., and somebody from somewhere else will have a different history, but I think the problem is that history is taught differently from generation to generation. I'm sure you might have been told by your parents that their idea of American history is maybe different to yours. Would you say so, Michael?
Possibly. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Because it's taught in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Or they leave things out, or they add things in. And I think that's a difficulty. And it seems to me that, every generation, because they're taught their own history in a different way, will have a very different conception to their national identity compared to their parents. But that's also inevitable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's so that hits I think that hits another problem of, inevitably each generation is going to pass on something less than the fullest sense of the knowledge and wisdom that they've gained. Each generation will add something new because they have their own life experience, but something from the past will probably be forgotten, or if not, you just get this kind of bloated canon. I think this is kind of some of the problem, what happened with the Catholic Church, why there need to be a reformation, because no one can study and fully know all the writings that have been composed and kept from 30 AD to the present day, and still or if you have to learn all that before you can have a voice or opinion about what's happening here and now, well, you're never going to get there. So
So you need it to be edited and interpreted, like the good guys one, and who were the good guys, and what the story was, and I guess that kind of thing, right? So I guess for Americans it would be, did the good guys win the American Civil War? And sort of notice that some Americans haven't gotten over it yet.
Well, I don't really believe in good guys or bad guys. That's too that's too shallow of a categorization. So I think there's probably problems on both sides. There's yeah.
Yeah, so it seems it wasn't really about slavery after all, because I remember watching this Steven Spielberg movie. I think it was 3 hours long, and it was about Lincoln. And I know I fell asleep and woke up and fell asleep. I think it might have happened 2 or 3 times, but it seemed never ending. But I did take away from that movie that it wasn't really about slavery, and some Americans, would say that. I mean, it was this, famous speech he made that if I could save the Union by freeing all the slaves or keeping all the slaves, I would do that. And am I correct in quoting that speech? I'm not sure, but obviously slavery is very contentious.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You guys are Jewish?
Well,
Not all of us.
I'm a Christian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It just said that it said for Gentiles.
Yeah. So so Jacob, who runs the broadcasting on his channel, he's Jewish. So and he usually doesn't stream anything on Saturdays.
Because he's observing
to honor the
Shabbat.
Sabbath. So that's why I just put that on. I didn't, just in case for his audience,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I'm trying to figure out what a Jewish. I'm Catholic. I actually have a master's degree in theology, but I've had recently real questions about what it means to be Jewish, because I think it's much more complicated than people take it to be. But I don't, you guys might not be experts on that if you're a Christian.
Okay, so I'm Jewish. I'm not only I'm Jewish, I'm nominated by the manager Jacob as the rabbi of North Tel Aviv. And the young Levite in the chat is definitely more Jewish than I am.
Okay, so you're Israeli.
Yes.
Okay, so on your ID, it says nationality Jewish, correct?
Yes, I don't know if it's called nationality or religion, but yes.
Not called religion. I believe it's called, I believe the Israeli understanding of being Jewish is being a citizen of Israel, right? So, for example,
no.
If I was Jewish, or if Michael was Jewish, our nationality is Israel, according to Zionism, right?
Yeah, then my nationality is Israeli and my religion is Jewish. You have Muslim Israelis and you have Christian Israelis.
Right, I understand that. But if I'm Jewish in America, and I've never, my nationality, my homeland is the state of Israel, correct? That's why I have a right of return.
If you are a Jew in America,
I just got to make the disclaimer, since we're on Jacob's channel, that Jacob is not a Zionist. So even though he's Jewish, he does not consider himself a Zionist. So it is complex, and there is a lot of
because usually I understand it to be a religion, but then people add ethnicity to it, which I don't understand. And then now, with Zionism, you add nationality to it, and that makes it to me completely confusing.
Okay, so let me try. If you're a Jew in America, you have the right by the laws of the Israel nation, you have the right to become an Israeli citizen. That you don't have to accept this. You can elect, like Jacob to do, to remain in America and not accept the Israeli citizenship.
Right, but you can't. But you can always appeal to it, right? If you are Jewish.
Yeah, you can
always appeal to.
Israel, you have the right, if you so wish, to become an Israeli citizen.
Okay, so that Zionism defines being Jewish in terms of a nationality.
Yes. Zionism wishes there was some identity between Judaism and being Zionist. Problem is, a lot of Jews, usually the majority, do not agree with Zionism. So Zionism wishes that there was an identity.
Yeah.
A lot of Jews disagree.
Right, I understand that, but by their definition, being Jewish is a nationality. They redefine what Jewish means, as far as I understand it.
Yes, the statement of Zionism is that you start with a state in which Judaism was a religion or perhaps an ethnicity, and then you create a state, and then you aspire to a situation in which there was an identity between the Jewish ethnicity and the Israeli nationality.
But here's my problem. Zionism was founded by anti-Jewish, secular, mostly atheists. So how is that Jewish?
Yeah, okay. It was a rebellion.
Yeah, right.
The Orthodox Zionism is mixed.
I agree.
Large important part coming from Eastern Europe was communist, or at least socialist.
Yep.
And so they denounced religion altogether.
Yep.
And definitely they denounced their Jewish roots.
Right, because if I understand at the time, most Jewish rabbis said, we will return to the Holy Land only when the Messiah comes. And to return to the Holy Land without the Messiah coming was like extremely, extremely wrong. Though there were Jews in the Holy Land, but to have like a secular return to the Holy Land was considered like absolutely no. They opposed Zionism.
Yes, so you have to split it into streams and groups. So one group says that we have to just keep what we were doing, being Jewish in Eastern Europe.
Right.
Another group says we are going to be less Jewish, perhaps not Jewish at all, and move to Israel because we have a Jewish ethnicity. And we have a problem that as ethnic Jews, we cannot possibly live in Eastern Europe. So we have to migrate to Israel. Another group was both Zionist and ultra-religious, like the Hasidic movement of the Gere Rebbe. The Gere Rebbe got a phone call from God at 1924, and God commanded him to take all his flock and go to Israel. So they are both Zionist and Orthodox.
Yeah. Like the settlers now, right? Like that wing, right? The ultra-religious Zionists.
Yeah, but the settlers don't tend to be Hasidic, but
right.
It's split yet again, because I was talking about Eastern Europe, and I haven't finished with streams and movements in Eastern Europe altogether. But the other half of the Jewish ethnicity was living in Muslim countries and Arab-speaking countries.
Right. Yep.
And they moved, all of them. I mean, there are lots of Jews left in the West, but the Jews of the East, almost to a man, are both religious and Zionist, and they all move to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are religious to degrees. Some of them are more strict, and some of them are less.
These are called the Mizrahi. Is that correct?
Yes, because they live on Mizrach is the East.
Okay.
But the word is confusing because you have. Okay. So you have people that are religious but not extreme, but they are Zionists and living in Zion. And going back to East Europe, you have socialists and communists who said, yes, we have an ethnicity in East Europe, but the solution is not to migrate to Israel, but the solution is to reform Europe.
Right.
And other communist rule in Europe, ethnicity will disappear.
Right.
Because we will be just working class.
Yeah. This would be also, wouldn't there be within this, the communists, you could say in a sense, are, even though they were generally secular, they believed in a certain way that the Jews were the people who would bring world peace through communism, right? It's a sort of like almost like a heresy of Judaism. What is that called? The idea that through the Jews, it's like a Tawhid or something like that. Tawhid. You don't know what I'm referring to?
Sounds like
No. But anyway, it was
The oneness of God. Surely,
Well,
when you mean
the
Talmud.
Jewish people would become like the city on the hill, all this kind of stuff, and through like Jewish rule, whatever that would mean, it would bring universalism to the earth. Like Christians obviously take that to mean
not Jewish rule, not Jewish rule, the rule of the working class, communist rule of the working class, never Jewish rule.
But utopianism, like kind of utopianism.
Yes, and they believe that they are Jews, they have special role in this because it is a matter of life and death for them. Because if a working class communist rule of Europe is not achieved, then the Jewish ethnicity within Europe is in danger.
Right.
So it's a matter of life and death, not only a matter of ideology. The Jewish problem is a problem to be solved one way or another.
You're saying it's like a demographic strategy, right? So we break apart nations and we create a one world in which like the nation state can't oppress minorities because you don't have strong nation states, right?
Because people will be classified by their profession and not by ethnicity.
Yes, that's right. Tikkun olam. That's right. That's the phrase. Thank you.
Okay, but the Jewish communist idea was that you will be identified as working class, not as a Jew.
Right. All ethnicities get blended in and subsumed into economic strata. Yeah. Right. So that's one way. But here's my question to you. I'm Catholic. I know Muslims. I don't understand how Jews are an ethnicity if Catholics aren't an ethnicity and Muslims aren't an ethnicity. I have never got anyone to answer that for me, because there are distinct customs that Catholics have. There are distinct customs that Muslims have. There's a Muslim culture, there's a Catholic culture, and there's certainly a Jewish culture. But why is that people say there's a Jewish ethnicity, but not that there's a Muslim ethnicity or a Catholic ethnicity? I don't understand the difference.
Okay, I tell you something. If you're Catholic and you convert to be Protestant, within one generation, nobody will remember that you were ever a Catholic. Nobody will ever come after you because your father was Catholic.
That's me.
If you're a Jew, 2 generations down the line, people will still call you a Jew.
Oh, well, wait a second. Let me push back a little bit on that. If you're Irish and you're raised in a like strong Catholic culture, if you become Protestant, you will be seen as a traitor to your people for many generations. And so that's not necessarily true. But like there are Jews also. If a Jew becomes Catholic and converts,
being Irish is an ethnicity. I agree.
Well,
but it's tied into the religion.
So there's, I mean, there's an interesting thing. In some sense, maybe you could just say it's the fact that there is both an ethnicity that is called Jewish and a religion that is called Jewish. So because I'm not Jewish, but my wife is, I guess you'd say ethnically Jewish. We're both Christians, and so my children are ethnically Jewish.
Yeah.
But it is a very strange thing how it's like, okay, so I'm Italian. My dad was Italian. He was Catholic. Then he, became born again. So I'm not Catholic, but I'm still Italian. So I'm an Italian Christian, but it's there's something about, I guess, because the religion is also associated with it, that it's very hard to maintain Jewish, even ethnic identity once you become a Christian. Like or a lot of people assume if you say like you're a Jewish Christian, that
Yeah.
means that you are practicing in some way, like
I believe that Jews will
observance of
no
the law.
longer consider you a Jew, right?
Yeah. So they
Like
well,
your wife cannot exercise the right to return as a Christian.
well, yeah. I mean,
Well, no, that's a
well,
matter of Israeli law.
I don't know.
I
She
mean,
did go on. She did go on one of those birthright trips when she graduated high school and all that. But so I don't know exactly how it goes with the national. Being like since it's a secular nation essentially.
I
Well,
it's a
because
Jewish
yeah.
nation, right? It's not just.
Well, so
Like,
I mean,
they
I guess
define it as Jewish, but I don't
All
know
right,
what that
so-
means.
yeah. So okay. So to say, like, my wife's not Jewish, according to maybe many of the Jewish people like that are practicing at the synagogue, but that's but she's kind of in the same boat of like, I don't know, Jerry Seinfeld or all the Hollywood people that are
Yeah,
Jewish and not religious. So
yeah.
it is a confusing thing, and I think, I don't know, maybe it's just the conflation of those things that gives a stigma where sometimes it just gets more downplayed or whatever.
But Michael, you as like I would use the term Protestant. I don't mean to take
Yeah.
offense. If you want to say born again Christian, whatever you
No,
want
it's
to say.
fine. Protestant.
But like, so you were raised in Italian Catholic culture, which is very distinct. I lived in an Italian neighborhood in Providence for 25 years. Like, it's definitely a thing. Whenever I went to church, they were like, "Why your name a no end in a vowel?" You know what I mean? It was like so Italian.
Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I grew up in Massachusetts. I went to school in Providence. So
Yeah. Okay. And you still have ethnic on. Oh, you did Providence College?
I went to there used to be a Bible college where I was right outside Providence called.
Oh, I know, in Barrington, right?
Zion, yes, Zion Bible College.
Yeah.
They changed their name because it turns out that having the word Zion on your like transcript makes it difficult to get visas to go to certain other countries.
Oh, really?
So for people that wanted to be missionaries or whatever, that didn't help them out.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So
we're literally right. My daughter is here with me. Like, we're right down the road from Barrington.
Okay.
So that's so funny. It's a small world, but yeah, like you have these enclaves.
Yeah.
And obviously there's so many things that go with being let's say an Italian American, the cannoli, the associations with the mafia, the gold chains, whatever you want to say. I'm not trying to be like there are stereotypes, right? So, but I don't see how, but like, then you also have like Jews in Providence. Okay. And they have stereotypes on like New York bagels. My daughter travels with me. Bagels, knish, food, all this kind of stuff. I don't see how it's essentially different. There are non-observant Catholics, but I'm sure that you experience some conflict with your Italian family, that you're what I would call Protestant, right? In the same way that it's sort of odd for a Jewish person to become Christian. And I just don't see how it isn't. Catholicism, we all agree, is a religion, not an ethnicity.
Yeah.
But it has, it has ties to culture, right? So like churches look a certain way. You do the sign of the cross a certain way. There's so many things, baptism, confirmation, so many things get tied in, especially with Catholicism, because it's so like embedded in culture that I don't understand how Judaism isn't a religion. I just think it is. I think it's a religion, period, not an ethnicity.
Well, it is certainly a religion. It is also an ethnicity.
But why wouldn't you say so you could say like, I'm a non-practicing Catholic. Okay. How's that different than being a non-practicing Jew? How are you still a Jew in an ethnic sense, like a racial sense?
Well, I think there's a limit, or I don't know. There's maybe like ethnicity has sort of an expiration date, maybe in some sense,
Yeah.
like, because it's not like I can't say I'm Roman or something because I'm Italian,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like I can only trace that back so far.
Yeah.
And so far, my wife and I are expecting a son in the
Oh,
next week.
congratulations.
But so far, we have 3 daughters, and so if they get married, they could have whatever last name, and
Yeah.
by the time they have kids, like being Italian may be hardly no part of their identity or heritage at all.
Or Jewish too, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah. So it depends. I mean, so it depends, I guess. In some of that stuff, it's like, we try to preserve some of all those elements in
Yeah.
in our family culture. I mean, and I think if you do that, so if you put the effort in, that obviously extends how deep and how long those things will continue. But
that's really fascinating. So
Yeah.
actually, as an half Italian family, you try to keep some of the Italian traditions, but not the Catholic stuff, I assume. Or right, like you're
Yeah,
you're
well,
not going to
so
have like
yeah.
novenas or something like
Well,
that.
I mean, in my family, my dad, my grandparents were definitely pretty religious. My dad and his brothers all baptized and confirmed, all that.
Yeah.
But he was born again, so Christianity was really an important part of his life. For his brothers, not so much. And then when
Yeah.
you get down to like my cousins, yeah, they were also like, I think they were probably all baptized and confirmed, but it's really not
Yeah, I get
an
it. Like that
important
was
part
that.
of their life, So I mean,
Right.
it's the same way without the practice and the observation
Right.
of religion.
Right, that tended to
or-
happen. It was like they had a strong, probably lived in an Italian American community when whoever the first ancestor come over, super tight. They did all the festivals. They met their wives at church, and then it gets looser with time because you assimilate, right?
Yeah.
But how is it different what you pull from the Jewish? Because isn't it the same thing? You're happy, maybe you have dreidels, you do like potato pancakes. I'm not sure. But you also don't want to import the religious thing of Judaism, which rejects the Messiah, obviously. So wouldn't it be the same? Or do you find it to be, I'm just interested. Is it different?
Well, it's interesting. So obviously, this channel that Jacob, who's not here, but whose channel we're on, he and I have had many conversations, and as with Yoav and some of the other people. So it's a very unique little community that's going on here, because we have a lot of conversation between believing observant Christians and believing observant Jews. And there's clearly been a lot of development on both sides through that centuries of interaction. And so it's like so like I see very often, like, people, like Christians will say, like, oh, well, Jews reject the Messiah, so obviously, like, they're all going to hell or whatever.
Mhm.
But as I've gotten to talk to many people and understand these things and realize, like, oh, it's not simply a matter of like which propositional interpretation of the text is more accurate or more correct. Like, all that history is embedded into it. And when you have people professing Christ for thousands of years, but who do persecute the Jews, and it's happened in many places, and they keep getting kicked out of places in Europe. You can't unravel those associations. And so, like, and so what I see, and Jacob is very good at it, is, he's very good at pointing out when Christians are not living up to the standards and the teachings of what we profess to believe.
Right.
And so, and so I guess you could say, maybe a Christian's faith is in what they know about Christ, and a Jewish person's faith is very much shaped by what they know is incorrect about what the Christians are saying and doing. So it's not, and clearly there's not a lack of faith. And it seems to me that very much they're looking for a time, when what most Christians would say, like when Christ returns and everything will be like that's, so it's like when Christ returns to the Christians, many of the Jews will say, oh, here's the Messiah for the first time. That's as far as expectations go. So it's not really like so much a difference of faith or a rejection of one set of beliefs, that it's a complex thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
we have different levels of conviction and certainty about different parts of it.
Yeah.
And
it's in a sense, when I studied early church history, I was surprised because really, in a sense, Christians were Jews who were saying, they were a Jewish sect saying, we see in this figure the fulfillment of our prophecies of the Messiah, but we're fully Jews, right? Like we're not claiming to be a different religion. We don't want to be seen as a different religion. We just want to be seen as like the correct version of Judaism, right? Like that we got it right. You got it. So we have a lot more in common than it's not like it's like talking to someone who's Hindu. It's like a totally different starting point. We accept the Old Testament. We both accept the Old Testament. And the question is this figure, Jesus of Nazareth, the fulfillment of the Old Testament? Right? Isn't that what the Gospel of Matthew basically is an apologia to Jewish? And then I think Christianity became more radicalized, like to say, like, actually, you can drop a lot of the messianic observations. You don't have to, but you can. And so then I think the Jews, let's say the non-Christian Jews, pushed Christians out, especially, of course, when you make the claim that Jesus was divine, because that's not compatible with their understanding of like the Messiah, right? So it's kind of understandable.
Well, and even saying that whole thing of like what's compatible with their understanding of Messiah, those criteria changed a lot over time as Jews interacted with Christians. So like it's not, and Christianity obviously has also developed many ways and now has many different streams, not of all who agree,
sure,
that we're all on the same page,
but clearly
is still there,
but clearly even in the New Testament our Lord avoided claiming divinity because he knew that like that would be seen as blasphemous, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think, and so it's interesting. So there's another guy that hangs around here who's a biblical Unitarian. So, and his essentially, if I don't want to totally misrepresent his beliefs, but like Jesus was not God until maybe the resurrection or something like that, and then it's like so. But up until then and all that stuff, he was, not pre-existent and all that,
right.
And it's like between the two heresies of like something like that. Versus a Gnosticism that says like he's just a divine apparition. Well, the Bible is very clearly in favor of of erring on the side of too much humanity rather than too much divinity. Like that's what it speaks about in 1 John. Like any spirit that denies that Jesus Christ came in the flesh is not
right. Right.
So and even there it's almost kind of the same thing. It's like you don't because once you get to the point of having creeds and confessions and you have this thing where you must affirm this whole list of stuff or you're not in. But if your doubts are based in, I mean, I'd say most of the time they're probably rooted in the fact that the people who are in charge are hypocrites and they suck and they screw up stuff. So people just are like, I don't, whatever I believe, it's the opposite of that guy,
but I mean, no religions claim that every adherent of the religion is perfect, right? So
but it's just to say that the line between faith and doubt is not, it comes to like a razor point there, really. It's what you're doubting is very close to what you're believing. I guess you could say it's showing, so yeah.
Although there are versions, so it's interesting. I have the reverse of you. I was raised in a Calvinist way by especially my father. So in that view, you actually can't ask questions because the idea is you're so sinful that your questions are sinful. So it's an easy way of getting out of having to answer questions like, why would God damn someone before they're born, right?
Yeah.
How could the just God do that? And then they tell you like, well, you don't know the ways of God, so just shut up. But like, so that was the appeal of of Catholicism, because they'll say like, oh, no. We can answer your questions. God didn't give you a mind not to use, and you can ask questions, but there are limits. So I imagine you'd be in a similar space, because a lot of Protestantism does tend to be like, you go to hell if you don't acknowledge Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. More so, I think, than Catholicism does that.
Yeah.
We tend to be more like.
If I may interrupt, first of all, welcome Chezi, and I want to tell Ben that Chezi is your expert on Judaism.
Oh,
you
okay.
have a one in a lifetime opportunity to really get all your questions answered.
Yeah.
But first, I want to ask Chezi, we're in an unfortunate situation in which our layout is vertical in YouTube.
There should be two. There should be two.
Oh, I
streams
see a
on the
horizontal.
channel.
There's a horizontal
There's
version.
two streams, so you can pick whichever one you want.
There is a horizontal stream as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So Chezi, I encourage you to get into the fray.
First off, welcome, Ben.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
I can't really hear you.
Yeah, you're
Sorry,
like,
is it better?
That's better.
So welcome, Michael. I hope you had a fantastic weekend, and Yoav, I hope you had a wonderful and spiritual Shabbat. And Claire's here. What's up, sister? Doing all right? All right. She's doing.
Hi, Hezzy.
So I heard some. Hello, Mark. I hope you're doing well.
Okay, so I'm leaving the stage. There are too many people.
Ben.
Yeah.
So is this your first time seeing this channel, or?
Yeah, I just popped on. I have studied religion. I have a master's degree in theology from a Jesuit university, and I also have been like really interested in. I would say I'm sort of right of center politically, and there's been an emergence of a kind of, big Zionist debate. I'm sure you all know that. Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, these people. I've been interested in them because, like, Nick Fuentes is Catholic. I'm Catholic, and I think a lot of people get a lot of things wrong when they say the Jews or Judaism. But I actually don't know what the answer to a lot of these questions are. Like, what does that mean? Jewish? So I've heard Jews say that Judaism is a religion. That to me seems the most consistent answer, that it's not an ethnicity. It's not certainly a nationality. That's something that Zionism created that is actually anti-Jewish. But,
Yeah, there's a lot there. Again, this is Jacob's channel, and Jacob is not, I'm just going to give up all the qualifiers, right?
Sure, yeah.
He's not pro the Israeli state.
I did give the Jacob is not a Zionist.
Yeah, he's not a Zionist.
I am a Zionist, but that is obviously a very it's a very loaded term.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's important to remember, as first of all, Jews today are representative, or for most of history, were like a tribe and a half of the 12 tribes, right? Like all of us are also experiencing Judaism from this 2,000 year exile it was in, and it really picked up many different cultures, right? The Mizrahi Jews and the European Jews, and all of them are coming with their own different bag of tricks, so to speak. And I could give a spiritual reason why that's true, but let's just look at the facts for a moment. So we're definitely dispersed, and there's all these other tribes that we've lost along the way, and so you're right. There's different dynamics to it, which are some has to do with it going through the mother, right? Its own lineage. Some
Right.
have to do with an adherence to a religion. But that is really something that's added, fairly later on in the experience of the Jewish people, right? Or the Israelites. You're only having that once they leave Egypt and God decides to give them this Torah that they decide to take on, right? These commandments. Beforehand, with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and even the brothers themselves, they're doing their own thing. They're becoming a people that has to do with their responsibility as like a tribe of people that through its lineage, or at least we believe, is holding a place to allow for revelation to come to mankind. And that gets spread on later through the people of Israel, Christianity, Judaism. We could bring other religions into this as well. We're all promulgating in this day and age, right? We're all bending the knee. If you think about the billions of Christians and then the billions of Muslims and the small little group of Jews, but that's a big part of the population all calling out to God's name. So we see that definitely as something as Jewish people, but again, going back to Abraham, right? We're going back to this people. People, the way it could play around as God sees from the first few tries with the Tower of Babel and the flood, that this is going to have to manifest through a people, because this is how the world is developing around us. And the people of Israel and its nation is how you actually take these divine ideas and manifest them into the world. And that's only going to happen through a system of there's a people, there's a community, there's a city, there's walls, and all those walls and the 613, so to speak, commandments are really trying to give you an operating system to allow you to show how that is modeled in a people through a nation, and that is then delivered to everyone to participate in. But
isn't it true that 10 of the tribes, though they were fully Israelites, the northern kingdom was rejected? Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, these patterns repeat themselves again and again, even in modern day Israel. But yes, there was tension with the tribes, and there is after Solomon's reign. Eventually, the kingdoms split up, but
So those people are not Jews.
Well, no, they were again. No one was called Jewish then, right? If you would be called a Jew if you were from the tribe of Judah.
Right.
I personally from the tribe of Levi. What's up, dude? Yeah, I can. I will join you guys in a moment. I'm sorry, but there's a priority, and it is my son.
Cool. Mark, how are you?
So what's the point of your question, Ben?
I'm trying to figure out how, we do like intuitively say, like if someone in New York City has a yarmulke on, and eats like Reubens, even without the yarmulke, he has a certain accent.
You're Jewish if your mother is a Jewess at the time of your birth.
Why is that like Jewish ethnicity, whereas like someone like Michael, who grew up Italian Catholic, doesn't have a Italian Catholic or Catholic ethnicity? Why would we say, yeah, he's Italian, but he's not Catholic? Why is it?
It's only in Jews that religion and ethnicity are merged, right? And therefore, they're not. If you're a Jew, you're expected to practice Judaism, but we know there are lots of secular, liberal, assimilated Jews, but they should be treated as heretics, and actually the Torah says they are to be stoned for breaking the Sabbath. They're not even supposed to exist.
If you're baptized Catholic, you're the idea of Catholicism is you're baptized Catholic, you are supposed to be faithful to Catholicism for your whole life, right? You're actually legally, technically speaking, under the jurisdiction of the Pope. You are subject.
What if you were never confirmed? I mean, you weren't consulted about being baptized. You were never asked.
There was a famous incident in history. I'm not saying you have to believe this. I'm just saying there's a famous incident in history where a Jewish child was baptized by a devout nursery woman. So she baptized. She thought the kid was going to die. She believed that baptism was necessary for salvation. Baptized. The kid survived, and then there was a problem because a Catholic child has the obligation to receive a Catholic formation. So this kid is in a Jewish household, and the Pope becomes aware of this. Because he was in the Papal States, he was pulled away from his Jewish family, away from his Jewish community, and raised Catholic because the Pope had an obligation. He didn't want to do this, but had an obligation because that was the understanding. And that still is the understanding to this day. I forget the name of the Dreyfus, maybe was the Dreyfus affair, something like that.
Well, he was French.
It was very scandalous. Of course, Jews were like, "What are you doing? You can't just take our kids away because some crazy, and she wasn't supposed to do that."
What's your point, really, Ben? Because
so you're saying that Jews have an obligation to fulfill the Mosaic Law. I agree. Baptized Catholics have an obligation to be faithful to the Pope. Muslims have a series of obligations as well. I'm sure. I don't know the details, but I don't see where the big difference is.
It's not
the big difference is that you cannot escape the inheritance of his race, because if you're a Jew, you're not supposed to be any other religion than Judaism, and if you fall out of it, then you'd be considered a heretic, and then there are death penalties for idolatry and blasphemy, and that was why
How is that different
Jesus
than Catholics?
executed.
How is that different?
But that's a story. I don't think I'm saying anything controversial there.
How is that different than Catholicism or Islam?
Well, I'm sorry that I ran off. It's quite fascinating because it depends what reading you do of the Quran and its interpretations. But the Quran, in its own way, sort of has its own universal take of when looking at the people of the book, whether it be Christians or Jews. And Jews also have their Noahide. There's the Noahide code. It's not Jews. It's offered, right. and it's not a lesser than covenant. It's offered to all, and there are different opinions about this. But something that we do discuss often in this space is the idea that Christians and Muslims, as far as Jews are concerned, in many cases are already considered Noahides, right? And in that sense, I don't require not only.
Well, that's controversial, isn't it? Christians be considered Noahides.
I mean, not in the circle. I mean, first, I take that back. Yes, it's controversial because it's more because it's novel, right? This is Jews for the last 2,000 years didn't really have the time to spend on discussing their views with regards to the other people in the world. It's more about surviving, assimilating, not picking your head up. So there's much of this discussion that was sort of left to the wayside. Now that we're back to our land, which to me, again, that's why, again, Zionism in its current form is clearly problematic, and its original form is clearly problematic. But it is a platform on which ideally the Jewish people could recognize who they are, and from that emerge something new. Now, because of that, because they're in a space, they could start working out their culture again, what that is with regards to their music, their art, how they see the world. It allows for a space for them now to start talking to the rest of the world again and see how they have a relationship, A, bringing on their universal mode, and B, discussing and sharing the space together with the other brothers and sisters that believe in God. So, Claire, I know you, generally speaking, have a hard time with my seemingly kumbaya attitude, but I assure you, these are things that are rooted in Jewish texts as well. And while Jacob will disagree with me with regards to how I view the state of Israel, there is much of an agreement with regards to how we see relationships with Christians and Muslims and the Jewish.
Do you realize, Hezi, that the Quran is Zionist? If you read it, have you read it?
Yes, I know the Quran speaks. I mean, there again, you have to be
It's
looking at
chapter
it through the whole
17, verse 104.
So is the Bible.
I mean, don't you just present it to Muslims and say, "Here, that's what it says. What do you think? It's in your Quran. Allah is Zionist," and their head explodes, and they immediately forget what you just said, and then next time you have to start all over again, and then they'll again pretend not to know what the hell you're talking about. But it's there in black and white.
I know, but Claire, I think we need to be very sensitive.
Oh, no. Because if you're sensitive, you'll just waffle and no people will just lose interest because you're saying yes and no at the same time. And then they won't take you seriously because this is what, Jews are being known for, saying yes and no at the same time. Speaking out on both sides of their mouths, and you might as well not bother listening to them.
Well, we are trying to do our
best. And anyway, if you're supposed to be a righteous Jew, you have to take a position on idolatry. Surely,
you're right.
You have to say, we are the people who said idolatry was wrong.
You are right, and it's very apropos to this weekly portion which we read about the life of Sarah, and in it, towards the end of the portion, it says that Abraham gifted all he had to Isaac. And then it says in the continuation of that verse, and he gifted gifts to the concubines' children and sent them eastward towards the east. Now, if he gave everything to Isaac, what are these other gifts that he's giving to the concubines' kids? And our sages discuss that there's the mission through Isaac and Jacob that is for Israel. And then he gifted other gifts with regards to spiritual gifts and mystical gifts for the rest of the world to share. Now, Claire, to your question, for Jews, right? Specifically for Jews, idolatry and our relationship with God, and specifically the Tetragrammaton, right? And unifying all things in only Him, that is a requirement that is demanded of us. This is also something true that our Muslim brothers and sisters take and understand as well. That's not to say they're Christians, and I would even say in Hindu or the Shinto religion, they have their own interpretation. That as far as Judaism is concerned, as long as they recognize that there's one source behind all these things, then for them, that is not considered idolatry. While that is considered idolatry for Jews, for them, it's considered joint worship. And there is a space for that. And I tell this to Muslims, and this is true to Christians as well. At the end of days, when the last Mahdi comes or when the Messiah comes, who are we to quibble with what he demands? Once he comes, it's all good in the hood. If he wants a mosque over there, then fantastic. And if it's going to be the temple, then I'm assuming then that's what it's going to be. But at this day and age, the idea of people that are seeking God and want to be close to Him, that is, we need to realize that we can walk together as an alliance, and within Judaism and within Islam, and it's also true within the Catholic, definitely since 2015. There's a space for this to happen together, right? When the Vatican comes out with the statement saying that Jews no longer require salvation, they could find their salvation through the Torah. And, and there's an understanding that while it's a mystery, these promises can't be, are irrevocable. Then you have an infrastructure and a language that allows you to move forward now together.
True. I love that.
That's where we should be.
But Kazi, when you say we, I just don't, what does that mean? Like, for example, I assume you're Eastern European descent?
Yes, but I don't identify as like maybe white passing, but I'm a Levite. I'm a Hebrew.
I get that. I understand that. Like, I'm not trying to like play a trick on you. I'm just saying probably if you took your alleles and did a 23andMe.
Yeah, there's blue eyes, blondish hair. Yeah.
I think the average Ashkenazi Jewish person has something like 70 to 80% Eastern European genetics. Okay, so you're actually more Eastern European in the racial sense, which I know is not how you identify. You probably find that offensive because, like, for example, I know here in America, Native Americans, like they sometimes have this thing like, can I work in the casino? It's like, you get special, like, are you part of the tribe? It's not genetics. They don't see it as genetic. They see it as like continuity with the tradition. They see it as like not correct to say that you're Native American because you have, you did a test and the blood test came back. For example,
sorry to interrupt. First, I dispute the facts. I think that if you conducted a genetic test on Levites, you will find them amazingly pure. And second, Judaism doesn't encourage people to convert into Judaism.
True.
But once or twice in a generation, it might be that a Gentile will join our community after passing rigorous tests. And over 2,000 years, you get some mixing, but what's wrong with that?
No, I don't have any problem. I'm just saying, when you say we, like, for example, I think it's well known that, like, because these blood tests, most people that we would say are in Latin America have some small percentage of, I think you call it Sephardic Jewish blood, like, because of the mixing in the Iberian Peninsula. Most of them aren't even aware of it because they've been Catholic for so long. And it's like, that's like, I don't know how many generations back, but there was a mixing when the Muslims came in, and I think there was just a large population until 1492 with the expulsion. But I've also, like, heard that a lot of the people in Palestine have a legitimate claim genetically to be closer to the Israelites than a lot of Ashkenazi Jewish people. Now, all that's racial theory, and I think obviously in the light of the 20th century, we don't want to do racial theories. Like, I don't think that stuff really holds up. But I do wonder, what is the basis of saying we, other than belief?
So
I must say, you can never say the word we. I mean, in any argument, whenever anybody uses the word we can attack it, because we is always meaningless.
But
I want to give
it must mean something.
I want to just clarify, because I'm the one who said we. We meant God seekers, not Jews, Christians, Muslims. It was a collective group. Not number one. Number two, to where you were taking it, which is fine. I understand the misunderstanding. Like you have said, I believe there's actually 4 distinct markers in Levite. If you checked Levite DNA, which go back to 4 specific females, potentially the 4 matriarchs. Secondly, because of the strict, and this wasn't always the case, it's going through the mother, but because of that's what it developed, that allowed that tradition, like you just said, the traditions and those cultures, it was an accelerator, because you managed to keep these things, of course, very sort of tight knit. So I don't see in any way Jews as genetically superior, and I don't see us and by a chosen people. Again, it does not mean chosen. In Hebrew, it's easier to talk about this. It has to do with its own capabilities. Each nation has its own chosenness and its own capabilities. As Jewish people, and if you look at it framing as like a body, we see ourselves as the heart. We can't function, though, without a brain or an arm or legs. And if there was 1,000 hearts, that would also be a mistake. We just see, or a different analogy would be, everyone is welcome into the house of God. We see ourselves as the chimney cleaners, just to make sure that there's proper revelation channels. And through Christianity and Islam, and this is how at least Maimonides frames it, he says these are clearly path makers for the Messiah. And, he also discusses that we can't obviously know ultimately God's plan, right? We don't know how these things manifest at the end of the day. But it cannot, on the other hand, it can't be denied when you see these this
is my daughter Grace.
Powerful manifestations. I'll just pause for 1 second. First of all, welcome, Grace. I hope all is well, and
thank you.
You're doing well as well. And Mark, you were shaking your hand no before. Do you want to share your disagreement? You're muted, brother.
Marky Mark and the funky Mike. We can't hear you.
Not yet. All right. While Mark is trying to figure that out, Grace, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little about yourself. How you doing?
Yeah, I was just listening to the conversation. I think it's a really interesting question. Like, what is a Jew? Is it a religion? Is it an ethnicity? And I think especially my generation, there's a lot of, I don't know if you would consider anti-Semitism, but I would say there is some straight up anti-Semitism of just like saying like the Jews run everything, yada yada. Especially with Israel, like the Jews control America. And I think it would be important to clarify whether Israelis represent Jews, whether they represent them religiously, whether it's a separate nation, the dual loyalty thing. I just think there's a lot of stuff I have questions about. So
Yeah, like
it's really
I
interesting.
like Hezi, like you're aware that like when a lot of like goy will say Marxism is a Jewish thing, communism is a Jewish thing. But if you actually look into Marx, he was Jewish, but he actually repudiated Judaism. He was like in a certain sense anti-Jewish. He hated like Jewish bourgeois culture and he rebelled against it. So it's weird to say, though there were a lot of Jews involved at the beginnings of like Bolshevism, that's true. They were in a sense rebels against Judaism. And similarly with Zionism, in many ways, Zionism was a repudiation of the traditional Jewish idea of living in peace and being patriotic in the nation that you're in until the Messiah comes and God sees fit to bring it back to the Holy Land. It was like no, we're just going to take matters into our own hands. The rabbis at the time, I think, largely said, no, that's not the way we're going to do this. And so now we create this situation where you have people like, I don't know if you're aware, Nick Fuentes, very big guy, kind of exploding. And he's saying things about the Jews that I think are about, in a certain sense, the anti-Jews. They're not really faithful to Judaism, but it all depends how you define it.
There's a lot there, and Grace is touching upon something that's very real, obviously. And I'm saying you could see, let's say, its manifestations. If you're talking about like politically right now on the right, with Candace Owens and like Nick Fuentes. But of course, there's different levels of and vantage points of how we're looking at this, right? Also, you could look at the UN, you could look at, and obviously a lot of this has become relevant since the last war in Gaza. And Grace, I'm painting a picture over here, but I'm also going to respond to sort of the things that you were pointing out as well.
Yeah.
Why not just divide Jews between righteous and unrighteous Jews? Isn't that the simple?
But that's
simplicity.
We're going on a little.
Who's going to decide who are the righteous ones?
1 second.
Yeah, the ones who are observant, at least the ones who are observant.
I mean, Claire, but just to that note, who are we? Again, there's an unobservant Jew in Israel that risked his life to save a Jewish family. Do we know how Master of the Universe quantifies such an act? Right? Is that worth 7 prayers? Is it like, we should humble ourselves and know and be careful when we start coming out with these kind of judgments. But I'm going back to like the larger
substitute our opinions for what's in the Torah.
Right, but the Torah and its rabbis have many interpretations to this beautiful, wonderful wellspring of knowledge. But I digress.
But logic surely tells you that, you have to be observant in order to be considered righteous as a Jew, don't you?
So I would say that is true. And like what you don't like this double speech, it's much, much more than that. But 1 second. So bear with me for a second, Claire. I want to just lay out an idea because some questions were discussed over here. So yes, I'm aware of those things that you're talking about. And it behooves Israel to respond to that and sort of, and that is a big tension felt all over the world. Now, when you're saying this is something that's like recent, Grace, I would say that this is something that became actually subconsciously felt in the world in 1948. When the Bible sort of becomes alive, so to speak, when these people that should have sort of disappeared, right, come and suddenly have a state again. And this becomes for Christians around the world, which is predominantly, you have to think about America then as much more Christian as well. And the Muslim world, they're seeing something that is very, very puzzling because this is the people that sort of should be forgotten. And now we see these people right, that are coming back to this land, which is also, there's a whole biblical context around this as well. And that, I would say, is the first point where this tension really becomes palpable for a lot of people. And now we're not going to do in this conversation, go through like a whole political conversation about the state of Israel itself. But needless to say, and I'll put this in you should look at it in this context, that the Declaration of Independence, which is put together by secular people like Ben is talking about, nevertheless says that this is the vision of our prophets, right? That's what's inside over there. The word democracy does actually never show up over there. But coming back, and the tikkun olam that we were talking about, this idea, right? That resonated with Jews because of their own messianic ideas of rectifying the world, right? So when a movement comes, or any general movements come, and the Enlightenment came, and movements that offered some sort of vision of a platform for Jews, that became very exciting, right? Because this is something that our ear has been tuned to listen to for thousands of years. And suddenly you get to this place where not only are Jews not pushed to the side, they're actually invited to join the party. And generations of rigorous culture of study, right, suddenly become very, very desirable in a lot of this conversation in this intellectual milieu. So you could understand why that became very, very enticing to them. That doesn't mean, like you said, that there are many Jews out there in the world that might be genetically Jewish, right, but culturally want nothing to do with it. There are self-hating Jews as well. And that is, of course, a reality. Now, when Nick Fuentes is talking about, again, I think it's a feature and a bug. The levels of anti-Semitism that I see in the world is not, while it could be worrisome, it's also something that I was taught to expect as a Jew. As an Israeli and Jewish people also know that this is a marker of something also in the world. There's a sense for Christian ears that we could either be Judas or be Jesus. There's nothing in the middle. There's this weird sense where the Jewish people, if you're going to be this people that you claim you're going to be, either show up or shut up. And instead it becomes very uncomfortable to hear about these people that talk about this moral high ground, and then you see death, destruction, blood, and suddenly you hear about these people that are very, very small, but then you see they're involved with money and the Nobel Prizes and the markets. And Jews would be silly to say, like, that's all nonsense. We do see many Jews in those markets, and we do see many Jews in Hollywood, and we do see many Jews in many, many different places. Now, many of those reasons why you see those Jews in those places has to do much because of the culture that they had with regards to succeeding in the world, pushing themselves, going beyond, thinking within the box, thinking in a very diverse way about the world that not all the world looked at for a very, very long time. And this sounds almost this sounds ridiculous to pour so much weight on this, but the fact that so many Jews historically are knowledgeable in just being able to read, okay, is a game changer. We have to realize the rest of the world at the time, or the people that they're competing with at the time, so many of the people are not actually versed into hours and hours and hours of daily study. So when you put in front of this person, sorry, and I'll stop talking on this point, but I'm just going to come back quickly for you, Grace, to the state of Israel itself. The people in the state of Israel who see themselves as Israeli, a majority of them, okay, also identify as the Jewish people, as in the nation, the historical people of Israel coming back to their land. Whether they're Ethiopian Jews, Jews from Morocco, Jews from Iran, Jews from France, Jews from Russia, Jews from Poland, everyone is welcome to the party, because they don't, not only do they not see that as a bug that there's different ethnicities or different, they're coming from different cultures with different backgrounds. That is a feature. The idea is to, through us being in exile, we're bringing back all these different cultures that we're get to then express through our own unique Jewish expression. But we get to do that. So there's a French Jew, and there's an American Jew, and there's a Canadian Jew, and there's a Moroccan Jew, and they're all bringing this beautiful flavor. Now,
but can I ask you a question?
Please.
Benjamin Netanyahu, right? He gets a lot of hate. He is a secular Jew. So he's not, like, he's openly not religious. like not practicing, doesn't keep the Sabbath, those kind of things.
But he's
What
not
does
practicing.
what does Benjamin Netanyahu
Yeah.
have in common with an Ethiopian religious Jew? I fail to
No,
understand
no,
that
no, no.
because
I want to correct the fact. Yes, he's a secular Jew, as I am. I am a secular Jew. I
Right.
don't go to synagogue and I don't keep the Sabbath.
okay.
However, when Benjamin won a war against Iran, he went to the Wailing Wall and he put some notes there and he had some prayers with the chief rabbis to thank God for his victory. So
Sure.
we are
He's respectful of the religion, but he's not practicing.
No, it's not respect. I mean, he put it was a personal thing. I mean, God, you have made me a winner. I'm going to thank you. It's a personal thing between him and his God. Now, we are here in Jacob's corner, a part of what we call this little corner, the TLC, which is part of the Jordan Peterson sphere. And we have an axiom here. There are no atheists. Your Homo sapiens cannot live as an atheist. Everybody has a religion.
Yeah, I
And
agree with that.
Benjamin Netanyahu has a religion. He is a religious. His religion is Jewish, which is different by flavor to Chazis. It's still within the tent of Judaism.
I think that I'm more Jewish than Benjamin Netanyahu because I believe the Old Testament is the revealed word of God, and I believe that the Messiah, as foretold by the prophets, was a Jewish man named Jesus of Nazareth who genuinely fulfilled the Old Testament prophecies. Benjamin Netanyahu, I believe, is a Zionist. That's his religion, the state of Israel. He worships the state of Israel.
No. Benjamin Netanyahu believes the Old Testament because that is what gives him strength in his mission. He wouldn't have survived the ordeal that he's going through if he didn't really believe in the Old Testament. What he believes about the New Testament, he will never tell you.
But 1 second, before we go to the New Testament, and this is also true to grace, Benjamin Netanyahu, you are right. Unlike me, he doesn't pray. I don't think he, let's say, doesn't pray ritually or go to services, and he probably doesn't wrap the phylacteries like I do, and many different things, like many other things he does not do. However, he very much sees himself as a continuation of Jewish leaders, and this is also very much because of his father and his family. He was a very big historian, but he sees himself connected to the Jewish people and its history and manifesting their home in the land of Israel. And he sees that as a culmination of the biblical story. He doesn't know how to weigh what exactly the prophet means. I don't think he's walking around thinking like in that language, but he is completely tethered to that story. And he sees himself as the manifestation of that story, of those people and that drive. And when he sits in...
But when you say those people, you said Jews of all kinds, right? You brought up Ethiopian Jews.
Correct.
What does Netanyahu have in common? He's a secular, European descent, non-practicing Jew. I don't know what Jew means, but he's secular, non-practicing, with an Ethiopian religious Jew. What do they have in common? What connects them? Israel? Would they not have been connected before Israel was established?
I want to answer that. The Prime Minister of Israel, whether it was Netanyahu or the one before him, decided that the state of Israel is going to expend its own money, take out plans, bring us the Jews from Ethiopia, house them, and close them, and feed them. It was a decision of the state of Israel. And I don't want to get into their heads, but something in their heads told them, we are the same nation. And Mark, did you want to say anything?
But isn't the Old Testament filled with the ethos of being kind to the stranger, to be kind to foreigners, to be like, so Netanyahu, as a colonial settler on the mode of like British imperialism and Central European romantic nationalism, that's where he got his ideas from. Let's be honest. Like it's not from the Bible. It's from Central European romantic nationalism
but
combined
you're
with
ignoring
like
the
the
house you grew up
British
in.
imperial ethos that the Jews learned from in the early part of the 20th century. That's the religion. It has nothing to do with the Old Testament.
My turn?
Mark, go ahead.
Grace,
Mm.
tell me a government of any country anywhere that will not lie through its teeth and broadcast its own propaganda to propel its own mission statement, for want of a better word. Okay? They
Yeah.
all lie to us. Netanyahu is no different to Trump or Starmer or Macron or anyone else, okay? They all lie through their teeth to get whatever they want and whatever they think is a good thing for them.
Okay.
And
Okay.
often it's mostly not in the interests of the country, it's in their own interests.
But there are
So
degrees of
that's the
that. There are
standards we
degrees
should
of
judge
that. No?
Netanyahu with.
There are
Mark-
degrees of that, of lying.
Say again, Ben?
There are degrees to which people lie and propagandize and everything else, right? Like some.
Mark, how
No,
much?
No.
Mark,
You don't
how
think there's
much-
ever been a leader in history who actually cared about his people?
There may have been. Can you name any?
Well, so I mean, just to say everyone is the equivalent, then you couldn't really even point out Hitler and Stalin as particularly egregious politicians, which they were.
Okay, fine. Some are worse than others.
Yeah, okay.
What is the point, though, Mark? What are you saying?
Okay, I've been trying to work out how to say this for a while, not just today, like for weeks. So who on this cast is American? So let's pretend we're all American for the sake of what I'm about to say. How many of us signed up to the Patriot Act? Did you sign it? You said, Patriot Act, that's a great idea. I'll sign this. Who did that?
I wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have. I wouldn't have. Anyone would have?
Well, our representatives voted for it, and we elected them
Yeah, but
collectively.
you wouldn't have. Nobody would have, apart from our representatives. So,
Oh no, I think a lot of people would
are
love
you
the idea
bound
of
to
surveillance.
the Patriot Act? And the answer is yes, by definition of you being an American citizen. They signed you up to it. You didn't sign up to it yourself. They signed you up to it, which is egregious, or whatever the word is. But a lot of the argument I'm hearing tonight is, did you sign up to the Patriot Act? And the answer is, no, I didn't sign up to that.
Why is it egregious? I don't understand. If we have a representative democracy, we elect representatives who act on our behalf. They may act in a way that I personally disagree with. Okay, but like I am part of like it is a system that makes sense. The majority rules. It's a sort of
Okay, that's digressing from my point.
and many people want
the
a
jury
surveillance
strike off
state.
The word egregious, whatever. But the fact is, you didn't sign up to it. That's my point. And so,
But how is that a response?
So
to
you're
me
saying
asking
unless the government,
what-
every single person consents to every single act that the government does, it's a corrupt government? I don't understand that.
okay, I'm struggling to express myself, but give me a little space, and hopefully I can express what I'm trying to say. So, the argument is, you're Jewish, you're not Jewish, you signed up to this, you didn't sign up to that, you're Christian, you signed up to this, you didn't sign up to that. And it's the same argument. And it's basically a legal argument. And do you see what I'm saying? I think Hezi gets me.
If your discussion, if you're trying to say is that, you know, before we walk around say like, you know, I have a son and he's a boy that's born to Jewish parents, right? In theory, he's not Jewish, right? He's like, this is an indoctrination system that I'm putting him through. And then at some point, well, who am I to have decided this for him? And he didn't elect to sign, to be part of this. But that, you know, That's the name of the game in a certain sense, Mark. That's like where we're in right now. And I would say that, and this connects back to what Grace was saying, though, what Bibi Netanyahu and the Ethiopian person have in common. And Bibi Netanyahu, as a representative of the government, is an example of that. The state of Israel, the secular state of Israel, or as far as like it's putting aside its religious point of view, it was a place to make sure the Jews have a homeland and they are safe and they could express themselves, because that's nothing they could have done for a very, very long time. And who was identified as Jews?
There are
Historically
some darker
speaking,
ideas
2,000
as to
years.
why the state of Israel was created.
I'm sorry?
There are some darker ideas floating as to why the state of Israel was created,
The
but
secular state
we'll
of
not
Israel?
go there now. Because it's dark.
But so the Ethiopian Jew, this is something that he was praying for 2,000 years. Bibi Netanyahu's grandmother was saying the same prayers. And if it's not his grandmother, it's 2 generations before that. That is the story they have, and this is the place they're going to go. Now, it's true. There was versions of Uganda, and we're going to find a different place for the Jews to live and things like that. That's a whole nother story. The fact that they manifested into their homeland and happened this into where their historic homeland was is something that is very, very, very desirable for a secular person because of cultural reasons, to a religious person also for religious reasons. So
Because you're saying that prior to the advent of Zionism around the turn of the 20th century, that Jews were praying for a secular state.
No, not a
Devout
secular
Jews
state.
were praying for a secular state.
No, but that's not
That's
the point.
not true. They weren't.
That's not.
The
It was
Ethiopians,
unknown.
the Ethiopians were also not praying for a secular state. Both Bibi Netanyahu's grandmother and the Ethiopian grandmother was giving the same prayer for a non-secular state. But they got a secular state. What can I say?
And that's
Well, if
why.
you say you were praying for one thing, but you got another thing, okay,
Yes.
No,
okay,
what-
but like you weren't praying for the thing you got. That's
Correct.
not
Yeah.
true.
but
None of them. These ideas came out of colonialism, not
Yeah.
out
No,
of Judaism.
no, because there was no other way of building. You couldn't have built the non-secular state.
Oh,
In
of
order
course.
to
No, you're
attend-
not. That's not true. Rabbis throughout the world said God will send us a Messiah. He will lead
Ben,
us.
Ben.
And of course,
No.
God is behind it.
No. My point is, stop praying. Build the state. First build the state, and then wait for the Messiah.
So
Yeah,
but-
that's called
but-
secularism, right? So you're
Yes,
not
become
a
a se-
Jew in that sense. I'm more of a
Yes.
Jew than you.
But you would be surprised to know. And again,
So
You're an
you are.
anti-Jew. You're an
No.
anti-Jew.
No, so
You
you are.
repudiate Judaism.
Correct
So-
me if
so-
I'm wrong, but I believe it's directly against Jewish religious beliefs to
To do what?
return to
Wrong.
Israel before the
It was
Messiah
considered.
comes.
Oh no.
No, some Jews. The
Well,
Jews,
Ben,
I
the,
feel
Ben,
the Jews
with
differ
all
on
Ben,
that.
with
Most
all due
Orthodox
respect.
Jews and rabbis opposed Zionism.
Ben, with all due respect, as a son of an Orthodox rabbi and part of a family of many Orthodox rabbi, there are many different opinions in Judaism. It is true that there are opinions that are against that. The person that runs this channel is one of those people that very much sees this as something horrible, right? There are many that don't see it that way at all, that support the state of Israel. And there are those that some see it as all religious people, I would say. And there's a spectrum of that, whether you're being, it goes from not seeing it as anything at all as to a manifestation of the messianic dream. However, it's not the end game. No one sees it that way. And me, as one of those people that would be considered as a messianist, right? I see the secular state of Israel, again, as we're living in a real world, right? Where there's oxygen and electricity and there's a game that needs to be played. And when I say that game needs to be played is when biblically it says, when the people of Israel come to the land, you could take on a king like the nations you see around you. If you are going to participate in the world with other people, you're going to have to adapt a certain tool set that they're using as well. Democracy, for example, the one we're participating right now is one of them. We are a Jewish state that participates in a democratic game. Now, part of that tension over the last 70 years is what that looks like. You are right that currently, right now, the state of Israel is more secular than many observant Jews would like. That is true. And yet it's more religious than many secular Jews would like.
No, that's not my point. My point is that when Zionism began in the late 19th century,
Sure. Yes.
the vast majority of pious Jews thought it was a mistake
Correct.
and opposed it because they
Correct.
said, no, this will only take place when the Messiah comes.
Yes,
And
yes,
there was
yes,
no
yes,
candidate.
yes,
Now,
yeah, no,
after this
let me
secular,
speak.
right, which is why there were very few devout Jews involved in Zionism.
Yes, Ben,
After
yes,
it occurred,
yes,
many
yes.
rabbis then changed their mind and changed their tune. Of course, because,
No, Ben, you're wrong.
well,
They're dead. Those Orthodox Jews who was anti-Zionist, they are dead. This is why Zionism is the majority.
No, there are still
now.
Orthodox, even in the Holy Land, there are Orthodox Jews today who oppose Zionism and believe
I
that
know. I'm
the
talking
state
about
of
the
Israel
majority.
is basically a blasphemy against
Listen to me,
the
Ben.
Jewish
Listen
religion.
to me. Listen to me. The majority used to be anti-Zionistic, and then the anti-Zionists were killed. So now the Zionists are the majority, and that's the truth of the story.
Well, or they died of old age, right?
They were killed in the millions.
Yeah, they were exterminated.
Well, but I'm talking about like in the Arab Jewish communities, there were rabbis. They weren't exterminated in the Holocaust. They largely opposed. And the Jews that were in the Holy Land largely opposed Zionism.
I told you, the Eastern Jews to a man went to Israel. All of them.
All Eastern Jews went to Israel.
How many Jews are there in Iraq? How many in Iran? How many in Syria?
In the Arab countries?
Yes.
But I feel I feel like
so wherever in the East, when there were no white men Europeans, all the Jews went to Israel. In the West, when the white man was, they were exterminated. And this is why Zionism is the majority.
That's not true. Jews were not exterminated in Europe. I mean,
Ben, educate us with the truth that you know, that you're sure that you're aware of. Putting aside, I'm just saying, you're going to put aside right now, you're going to assume, obviously, that this Yoav over here and we don't know what we're talking about. Tell us.
Well, if you want to say that all European Jews were exterminated in World War II, that's crazy. Of course, that's not true.
That what? I'm sorry.
Many Jews escaped from Europe. Some Jews continue to live in Europe, obviously. So to say something as ridiculous as every European Jew was exterminated in the Second World War.
Do you think he meant every single Jew?
He said they were all exterminated.
And it's very important over here in this space. It's like a brave space. We say because you could say whatever you want, but bad faith, there's zero tolerance over here. So I'm sure you know that he meant most Jews were killed, and that's a fact.
Well, then why did he say all?
So does that really bother you? Stop for a second before you answer and think of the conversation you're participating in.
Yes, it bothers me. I think we should be careful with our words.
Right. Okay. So now I think so any mistake, right? If you say like a little, you meant a bit. What's the level?
I'm just saying he could say like, no, that's not what I meant. Okay, but I think when we start saying all Jews this and that, don't you understand the problem with saying all Jews this and that?
No.
Don't you get how that could be dangerous?
No, because I think everyone really understands the fact that there's 15 million Jews left in the world. It means almost all the Jews.
I was talking about the majority. I will repeat my statement. The majority before the Second World War was anti-Zionist. The majority after the Second World War was Zionist. Why? Okay, because of some Jews were killed.
I have no problem with that statement. I think that's perfectly fine.
Okay, fine.
There you got it.
But I'm saying that all my point is that the religious Jews opposed Zionism, and then Zionism occurred mostly by secular people against the religious Jews' wishes. And then later on, for whatever reason, some Jews, maybe most Jews who were devout and religious, then like kind of integrated Zionism into the religion. And I'm just saying it wasn't one happened first, then the other, not vice versa. That's all.
My great-grandfather immigrated from Poland to Israel in 1924 because he was an Orthodox Jew and because God told him to do so. Yes, the majority changed, but the movement was always there of Orthodox Jews going to Jerusalem.
always? I mean, what do you
Always.
say? Like, no.
Always.
1924 is the Zionist movement. 1824, there was no such movement.
But everyone wanted to come to Israel. Jews all wanted to come to Israel. Always.
Well, you
Gentlemen.
put through the Messiah was the
Let me
standard.
No, wrong. From Abraham. That is the call.
Gentlemen.
All roads lead to Jerusalem. You are right that there is a disagreement whether we as Jews could come all Jews together and try to make a statement as now we're manifesting the modern state of Israel. That many rabbis had many problems with and said you can't do that. That is true. You can't hasten the end of the exile. That is. But individuals were always told and always prayed that that's where we want to go. And by the way,
what I'm saying is the idea of it being a secular movement originated in the late 19th century.
Sure.
It wasn't there in the 2nd century, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. So when you say we always had this dispute, it's not true. It's a relatively modern dispute.
What is
Gentlemen.
It arose in not because of a rereading of the Bible, but it came as a response to European nationalism and colonialism that were the inspiration for this kind of like new idea called Zionism. That's all I'm saying. That's factually true.
But it's the idea, the political movement of Zionism was new. The fact that it's using the name Zion is touching upon the eternal idea that we've had and desire to come back to the land. You are correct that the way it happened is very surprising given the fact that religiously people were very against that idea at the offset. However, when the temple was destroyed, there's a rabbi that made a big move and said, I'm done with this. And he went to the emperor and said, I want all the rabbis and this space up north. And I'm going to make a change right now. And that changed Judaism again. And then again, we were kicked out of the land and other moves were made. And like I started this conversation with, all that's left of all those people are 1.5 tribes. Those are the people that are left. And those are the people that are holding on to that tradition, to that dream and that longing. And through the history, now find themselves together back into their land after 2,000 years. And while it happened off of this secular movement, that's correct. There is now within Israel the discussion of who are we? And because if we're just this secular state, right, there's a lot of questions about what you're doing over here, why this land, or are we more than that? Or are we the people of Israel? And that is a completely different mode. And the religious of us see the secular movement as a platform divinely that allowed that to happen.
Yeah. Okay. But like, yeah, right. But we would all agree God works in whatever way throughout history. But at times God punishes through history, right? Which is the understanding of the Babylonian exile, the Egyptian exile. It really wasn't about hating Egyptians or Babylonians. It was about the failure of the people. And also the exile, the Roman exile was largely seen as a punishment.
Of course.
And Christians see it as a punishment for failing to recognize the Messiah, who, of course, Christians would say, well, that's how we view it. That's how we would view it, right? The temple was destroyed and the kingdom, that relationship came to not a permanent end, but a certain type of end. Okay, that was a fulfillment of prophecy. Obviously Jews would not agree with that. But what I'm saying is we also would say the Jews largely did not recognize the Messiah, who we claim to be the Messiah, because it wasn't a national, he wasn't a king, a military, he didn't repudiate Rome and all that kind of stuff. So I admit God can throw us surprises, can throw us curveballs. Our job is to interpret that. I would say if I was Jewish, I would want no association whatsoever with what is going on right now in Gaza. To say that this is God doing something through us, I would say is a very, very difficult case to make.
Well, just to be fair, first of all, I think it's important that we got to this point because there's religious conversations, there's political conversations. So if we're specifically with Gaza, then one has to be very careful how they're parsing this conversation because it's not, well, of course, God is the ruler of all things. Right? You are correct to come and say, like, 1 second, are you telling me like this soldier killing that kid is like he's saying God wants me to kill this kid and God wants me to kill that kid. So like, no, obviously that gets very, very hairy and messy to think about things that way. Now,
but Zionists do it all the time. Amalek, right? We'll just say
no. So
Amalek.
Ben, I will have this.
Blood runs in rivers. It's very dangerous.
I will have this conversation with you. The only way we can actually have this conversation, if you want to have this conversation, is you have to I need you to do a few things. This is the exercise. You have to tell yourself that you're talking to two individuals, at least here. Well, three, because Mark as well, and Claire, who's her own brand, that we've been engaged in an interfaith sort of and a deep conversation for many, many years right now on this channel, right?
That's great.
2 years ago, this Israel thing came up. Now, there's a level of trust and openness that's been opened up over here. Again, like I said about the good faith. When I'm talking right now about Israel, if I answer you right now, or Yoav answers you, I'm not worried. If I was talking to, for example, I'm talking to Mark right now, I don't think Mark thinks that I'm selling him propaganda, or he's going to tell me like, oh, that's what they all say. I know he's talking to Chazi, the father of kids that lives a life, that's an architect, that teaches, that works, that discusses, that understands Christians and Muslims and works with Muslims. And that's why when he's answering me truthfully to his knowledge. I could engage with you in the conversation if when I give you answers, you're taking them as Chazi's being honest with me and not that there's like some sort of trickster game going on. Because otherwise, it's going to be very hard to have that kind of conversation.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, stuff from Mark. Do you have anything to say?
Can you hear me? Cool. Guys, we're chatting. We're figuring stuff out. We don't have exact knowledge to hand. We don't have charts and scientific data to reference. We're just chatting. Maybe we say the wrong words every now and then. Maybe we're misunderstood. And that's normal between friends chatting. So just, we need to give each other a little more space, I think. And that's okay.
I'm very sorry.
Well,
Do you guys find it
telling.
offensive that I just like I maybe it's just a cultural
it's
thing.
getting heated, and it's like we
I'm not.
don't need this
it-
heat.
Look, I'm happy to answer Ben's questions, but yeah, he hasn't really got a question. It's like, oh, the Gazans. Okay,
Claire,
what are Jews expected to do about it?
But I don't think.
What
I
are
don't
they
think
expected to do about it?
Well, I can give you a question. I would
let's
say
hear it.
that Jews should re-identify with the anti-Zionist, devout Jews and say we this Zionism thing is a mistake. It has nothing to do with Judaism.
Right.
And I do
talk
think
to a
Jews are
Zionist.
doing that largely in the West.
So speak to me when you.
Chazi, sorry.
But then Hezi, I don't understand. I gave you this verse in the Quran, and you just decided it didn't matter. You were not interested.
It's not that it doesn't matter.
I thought it was the winning argument, but you don't care about it. Why not? Why not?
Claire, we're not perfect.
Claire, why would it be a
No,
winning
no.
argument?
I mean, but since we've got to the point of me saying there's a verse in the Quran that appears to support Zionism. And could be an argument that Allah is Zionist. And then I mentioned it to Hezi, and he says, I know about it, and he waves it aside. And I'm just trying to find out why you don't want to use this verse as an argument for Zionism, as a Zionist yourself.
There's a section of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, right? So 1.2 billion people that does say that Jews will return to the Holy Land.
Right. That's my point to Claire. Like, I'm aware that the Quran has statements like that. That's not, it's definitely in the discussion we're having right now. There's clearly a split over here between the Jewish people, right, which the Quran or the Christian faith is talking about, and what our Ben would ask over here, which is how he identifies the state of Israel as very much not Jewish. And that's why he's saying it's a very big mistake that Jews are identifying with
it is a secular state. I mean, we all know that. So I was suggesting, well, maybe people who don't like Jews should,
not really
make allowance for the fact that they are righteous Jews and unrighteous Jews.
But this really brings us, Ben. This really brings us to the question, because presumably, what you're saying is, listen, I'm looking at what's happening on the ground in Gaza, right? And I see fill in the blank over here, genocide, hunger, whatever it is that you're calling that's happening over there. I'm assuming that's the agenda. And it's a shame that a nation is involved with this, a democratic nation. But even more so, you're calling yourself a Jewish nation. How could you do this? Get away from that, run away from that, from like fire, because it's bad for your. Seemingly, if the Chesed you're talking to right now and is articulating himself this way, then it's quite curious, right? Because like, are you condoning all of this, Chesed? Are you saying that this kind of behavior really makes sense? So my argument would be, and I would probably say, like, we don't have to get into all the details, is that there is a very skewed way of how you are seeing this conflict as someone that's very, very involved with it. And there are many claims that I could, quote unquote, debunk, but it's a bigger question of, are you open to the idea where things are not as there seem to be, and there's a tremendous amount of propaganda of their money out there. Now, if you can't, and I understand that there's a whole generation of, and Grace, to take no offense with this when I say this, humans are not made to see devastation constantly all day long. And if you are growing up in a world where all you see on TikTok is death and devastation, it doesn't matter if I give you 1,001 stats showing you that we're, quote unquote, not the bad guys. I truly believe that it's too much for people to take on and handle. And that's why it's a very, very, very difficult conversation, because emotionally also it's very, very hard to compute. We're living in a world where this kind of level of devastation and death is definitely not seen. But again, if I give you raw numbers, right? If we talk about, let's say, the amount of death total in Gaza compared to other wars, and if we look at the amount of bombs that they're using and drawing down, like really everyone in Gaza should have been killed. It's I don't know if that's going to be productive, but if you want to go there, we can. My point being is that
we could talk about the numbers. More journalists have been killed in Gaza than in World War I and II. More bombs have been dropped than were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki combined. I mean, what? We talk about the numbers all day.
So think for a second.
A better idea.
Take 1 second, Mark. Take a step back and think how, when I said what I finished saying, you laughed in a way of like, oh, we could go there. And that's it, all of that, not the energy I was giving you. My energy was all that was there. Was there even a space for you to doubt the thing that you're sure you know of? And the response was like, there's no way. So just as an example, if it is true that we did more, we bombed, don't include any bullets or any cannons, just bombs in Gaza, it's significantly more than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You're 100% right. Right. And then the kind of bombs that they're using in America, the kind of bombs that we're using, the Israeli technology that's very precise, it could probably kill, let's be conservative, 10 to 20 people in this radius. We've shot so many that if you look at the numbers, we should have killed 5 million, 6 million, 2 million, 1 million. But even according
there's only 2 million people in Gaza. You can't kill 5 million.
Even according to Hamas's numbers, you're at 67,000. Let's make it 70. Let's make it 140. It is nowhere close to anywhere of the damage you would expect.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Can I make a point that you're giving?
Here's what's laughable: the idea that Zionists' propaganda is not dominant over the propaganda of the Gazans. That you're the David and they're the Goliath. That's laughable. We live in the modern world. We understand that Zionists, literally, I could show you a page of all of the media outlets that they literally control and overtly exert hasbara on. It's laughable. It's a joke. If you think you're going to make the argument that like it's skewed against the state of Israel in Zionism, it's laughable. It's a joke. But enjoy the fruits of the joke, because I'm not going to feel it. It's Jews that are going to feel it. And I don't want them to feel it. But if you're going to say, like, you're going to make these laughable claims, you're going to get laughed at, you're going to get offended, and then you're going to get something else, which I don't think anyone wants to see.
I got you.
So, Mark.
Okay, enough. Wait, stop. We're going to have a musical intermission. Okay? We need to calm down.
Tell ya, Mark.
I think so. That's your claim, and I get it. Like you said, there's no way I'm going to convince you, and you're right. That's it.
reason why our love keeps right on and walking on down the line. I don't want to stand between you and love, honey. I just want you to feel fine. I don't want to know the reason why our love keeps right on and walking on down the line. I don't want to stand between you and love, honey. Just take a little time. Finally, baby, truth has come down now. You try to tell me that I'm crazy, nothing that I didn't know. Trying to survive. You say you love me, but you don't know. You got me rocking and I'm reeling, hanging on the line. Oh, I don't want to know the reason why love keeps right on and walking on down the line. I don't want to stand between you and love, honey. I just want you to feel fine. I don't want to know the reason why our love keeps right on and walking on down the line. I don't want to stand between you and love, honey. Just take a little time.
Woo! That was very nice.
Thank you.
Genuinely, I'm impressed.
I gotta go soon. I gotta walk the dog. Peace, everyone.
Bye, Mark.
Peace, Marky.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, I want to add something maybe finally. Well done, Juan.
Guys,
It's
That
no,
was-
I want to some last thing.
sorry, I just
It
had to go
seems to
Mark.
me that my Hasbara has failed. That somehow all this effort didn't succeed. And there are people in Israel, Jews in Israel, who I think are responsible for this failure. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to come after them, and I'm going to come after them hard. Jonathan.
I just came on because I couldn't stand the fact that Mark just hijacked the conversation, I think in a rude and disrespectful way, and started playing music. So unfortunately, I didn't get here fast enough to boot him before he quit. But I mean,
Oh, you're the owner of the channel?
I'm no, not the owner of the channel. No.
Oh.
I have enough authority to come in and kick people out.
I appreciated the break, but I can see what you're saying.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, I think it's rude to take just be like, oh, we're just gonna have a break. Like, I mean, like things get intense, but I think they can continue to get intense. And in any case, I don't have anything to say other than I was listening to the conversation, and obviously I got motivated enough to join. But I think
I mean, I
think
don't know.
you have
but,
to have enough
on,
to.
on the Israel front, I don't know if it's going to be like a new conversation. It doesn't seem like Yoav said, right? Where if we are Hasbara talking heads, so I don't see that being like very productive.
But you can understand my point. If you want to say that
Yeah.
the Zionist regime has enormous access to the media, which is true, and yet the media, what we get in the media, let's say in America, is skewed against the Zionist regime. Like, you can understand how we would say, like, that doesn't seem very likely to be true. That's very hard to buy.
I can understand that's how you may claim things are. I would disagree with the way you're seeing reality, but it's just.
But do you agree that? Are you telling me that you think like that the pro-Palestinian cause has more economic and media influence than the Zionist cause?
Hands down, for sure.
It has more support.
So you're
maybe,
like a
but not
Qatar
more,
guy. You're like
not
saying
more
Qatar
funding.
has more influence.
Like I said, like if I will turn into like a Qatar guy meme, then yep, I guess I'm the Qatar guy meme.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, that could be true. It's just hard to like Bari Weiss, right? Like
Bari Weiss, yeah.
Okay, just took over CBS News, which is one of the mainstream outlets, right? And that CBS
correct.
and Paramount were just bought by an overt Zionist.
You're right. America is very favorable to its ally. Correct. You're right.
Yeah.
And
so
yes,
we get
there is-
Hasbara fed to us, right?
again, you could look at, everyone does propaganda. You could look at Hasbara as being maliciously also faking things. The question is also, you would have to quibble with what in the Hasbara, right? Some of it is genuine, and you would argue that some of it is malicious, or some of it they're making stuff up, or some of it, but like,
Yeah.
Coming and giving some stats which are true are actually true stats. But yes,
That's true.
I'm sure that is how people will see certain things. If you look at Europe, if you look at the
But
Arab
like an
world,
example of Hasbara would be the beheaded babies lie, right?
but no, that would not be part of Hasbara, because no government official came and said that, and Bibi didn't come and say that. You are right that that's was leaked, and
The U.S. president said it. The U.S.
You're
president
right. Horrible. Immediately called out by Israeli media and news. By the way, you also understand that, like, in Israel, Bibi Netanyahu also has a tremendous amount of opposition from courts and from the media inside Israel. Tremendous opposition. Yet all of them would disagree with, let's say, how you would call that Hasbara, because none of them see it that way.
If you want to make the point that there's a vibrant discussion among Jews and among Israeli Jews, where there are many voices that would call out like all of this stuff as genocide. That's definitely true. One of the great
in Israel will call it genocide. Almost no one.
Well, I've seen people who are Israelis who call it genocide unambiguously.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
So I understand it's a small minority there.
Correct.
But it's much bigger worldwide, I think you would say, especially among young people. There is a lot of anti-Zionism among young people in America. And I think they're the most articulate. Actually, I think the most articulate are the ultra-Orthodox Jews who see it as like against the religion of Judaism. I think they're beautiful people.
That's not all ultra-Orthodox Jews.
I know. I'm saying the anti-Zionist ultra-Orthodox.
Right. There's a million that live in Israel that are opposed to the secular manifestation of it. Nevertheless, they see themselves as part of sort of this ride, while hoping sort of to correct it and fix it from within. But they have an aversion to a certain degree from, like I'm saying, they don't join the army, which is a big point of tension, like in Israel, of course. I'm sure
that's called the Haredi, right? The Haredi.
Well, Haredi in Hebrew means fearful, or like Hared Hashem, fearful of God, or have reverence to God. So in that sense, I would see myself also as a Haredi, but it has now taken on a political and theological form as well. So the word is associated with them, but that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like I don't really have that much skin in the game as an American. It's my tax dollars that I oppose going to this kind of stuff. I don't think it makes any sense. But like, and I oppose my sons going to fight a war on behalf of a project that I think is insane from the beginning. Other than that, I have no skin in the game. But if I was Jewish, I would think as a Jewish person, I would not want to be associated as a Jewish person with what's going on in Gaza. Now you could say that's Hasbara or whatever.
If you saw it your way, correct? Like the way I see it, for example, is, of course, any needless death and devastation is horrible, and war is horrible as well, of course. And I can't wait to the time where I could live in peace with my Muslim brothers and sisters. Inshallah, that will be amazing. And it's very important that both in Israel and anywhere that we have some sort of influence and control, we could make sure that Muslims have a place to pray and a place to express their beautiful, beautiful religion and culture. Having said that, in the land of Israel specifically, and the current fight we're in, I don't see it the way you do, obviously. Yeah. And that's why I think Jews we could quibble. We don't have to quibble. We could disagree with how the war is taking place. And if there are mistakes during war. But the fact, do I think it's like a just war? The answer is yes. I think it's a just war. I also think it's beneficial to the world, to America, to with regard to how, again, the way I see it being framed, including the axis of Iran and Hezbollah and its move and terror across the world in general, and in general, are again, as Christians and as Muslims and as Jews, having to fight radical Islam, because that is a very, very, very problematic issue. So
Can I ask you?
No,
Can
it
I ask you a
isn't.
question? What
Please.
do you see as the solution? Are you a one state, two state, or cleanse Gaza type of guy?
No, I don't, not a cleanse Gaza type of thing. What do I want? It's also there's realpolitik. Like, what do I think could be happen? There's
Let's say,
messianic.
what would you wish could happen, and what do you think is the most
What
realistic?
can I wish could
solution?
happen? I wish the temple could be built and all nations of the world could come together and pray there, and Muslims and Christians and
No,
everyone.
no.
who
I
wants-
mean, yeah. I assumed that, but I mean, it's
So,
specifically in Gaza.
in-
What would
so,
Palestine as a whole, West
in
Bank and
Gaza?
Gaza? But let's just say Gaza.
I would like. Unfortunately, it's really time. What has to happen is a deprogramming, as in, like, in Gaza, there can't be any schools that are teaching math through how many Jews you kill or calculate the amount, how far the rocket could go. So, like, all
This
that needs
baloney,
to be
this is
scrubbed out.
baloney Hasbara.
One second. But Ben, you remember the discussion we had? The assumption then is that I'm not trying to lie or do that, even if that's what you think I believe. Okay, so this is what I'm going to tell you based on the things I've seen and facts and seen.
No,
and
but I
held
mean,
these-
so do you believe Gaza should remain occupied, or do you
yeah,
believe
so-
it should be incorporated into Israel, or should there
so
be
I'll
two
answer.
separate nations?
Once I know, right, and this isn't, they could continue teaching Islam there. Once I know that there's no discussion, which is I'm going to try to kill these people, right? Live there, dance there, build an airport, do whatever you want. More than that, you could become the prime minister of Israel. Just, there is no such thing as this place will be rid of Jews.
So are you
Is it-
saying one state solution? If you say, well, like, a Gazan could become prime minister of Israel, you're saying so it would all be Israel?
I mean, if he's loyal to the state of the Jews, he could be the prime minister.
Why would a Palestinian believe in an ethno state that is designed, unlike any other nation in the world,
Mhm.
for one ethnic group to be superior to
But
any
it's
other
not
ethnic
superior because the 2
group? It
million,
absolutely is. It's a
2
Jewish
million
state. What does that mean?
the 2 million Palestinians that live in Israel have equal rights. There's a Jewish.
That's not true.
But I work with them every day, so it is true. And
Okay, can one of them marry a Jewish girl in the state of Israel?
he first of all,
The
there's
answer
what
is no.
these-
The answer is
what-
no.
No, it's not. The answer is no. Is it
Yeah, it is. You're
recognized
trying
in
to
Israel?
fumble for something. They don't
Yeah,
have
because
equal
you're
rights.
asking a loaded question, so I'm going to answer it. So do you want, is it all take 1 second? Because I am, right, like I told you, part of people coming back to its land trying to manifest itself, which is very difficult to do, and dealing with minorities that biblically have a relationship with them, right? So that is also something very, very complicated, like you just said. So you're nodding your head no. But the reality is that a Palestinian chief justice put the Jewish president into jail, right? So that doesn't happen in apartheid states. And there are Arab members of Knesset, right? There are Arab members of Knesset that vote against Israel. That doesn't exist in America. We have members of Congress that are against America. Okay, so
Yeah, we do.
that exists in Israel, and and those my taxpayer money, right, is paying for the security and the bodyguards for all those members of Knesset that don't represent me, but they represent a democratic Israel. And that's the 2 million Palestinians that live in Israel. Now, yes, it's a Jewish state. Like I said, it is a Jewish state. And you could have a discussion with any Christian that wants a Christian national state or an Arab that wants an Arab nationality, right? There's Dar el-Harb, which is the whole world eventually needs to be conquered. So
Is there
in my-
any other state in the world
Yes.
that is like the Jewish state
No.
of Israel in the sense?
But
No. So it's
I'm not
unique.
playing your game. I'm doing
It's unique.
something else.
It's
Yeah.
an ethno state.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. The
Is
last
a
one we
Jewish
had
state?
was in Germany in
Yes,
World War
but-
II.
But
The German
unlike
state for the
Germany,
German people.
everyone is equal under the law.
It's not
In
true.
almost every regard. You're nodding your head no. The reality is you have to square it to me that. What is that Palestinian chief justice doing putting a Jewish prime minister in jail? Explain to me how that happened. How does he get to be the
What
chief
rights do the 5 million people who have been occupied since 1967?
That's a different question right now. Wait. Be
Well,
fair.
but you just want to conveniently
No,
redraw the
did
map.
I say 2 million? Did I ask about 2? Grace asked, what are we going to do about Gaza? I'm giving you a
Yes.
reality already where we've tried it out. there are 2 million Palestinians that live peacefully with the Jews. I interact with them every single day, specifically because of my profession. I work in construction all day long. I'm with them, in and out, eating in their houses. They're in my houses all the time. They live beautiful life.
Can I ask you a question about those people? Do you think that they have forgotten or will forget anytime soon that they were displaced by a colonial settler project called Zionism? And they lost their homes, and they lost their right to participate as equals in a society because of a European project that had nothing to do with them. Do you think they're going to forget that?
So I will answer that question. It's a very good question. Number one, I think Israel needs to do a better job in recognizing the trauma that went through the Palestinian people when we came over here. And in all honesty, I think until we recognize that trauma, we ourselves as Jews, but specifically Jews in Israel, are still even dealing with that trauma as well. And I think that is not healthy, and probably also at some place also manifests even in the body politic and how we represent ourselves. So that's just, it's not healthy, and it has to happen. With regard to your question with the Arabs, I think there are some that will have a hard time forgetting that. I think there are some that have already forgotten that. I think there are some that are a minority that even identify specifically with the Israeli project. I think there is a majority, though, again, of Israeli Palestinians that have obviously their own diverse religious wants and beliefs, but nevertheless understand and truly recognize that they're living a far better quality of life in Israel than their surrounding neighbors. Now, that doesn't mean they can't find other quality of life in other places. But when I discuss this, which is, again, it's been more difficult since October 7th, but any opportunity I have to discuss these things with my Muslim brothers and sisters, this is a discussion that I try to have with them. Really come down and ask, like, what is it that you would want to see, right? I have this carpenter I really worked very close with, that he cannot, and I've done very progressive interpretations of my religion, of showing them, like, we're praying together in the temple. He's not interested in that dialogue, right? He knows, like, this is all mine at the end of the day. He's very nice. He's a nice guy, but he doesn't want me here at some point. And there's others that very much want us over here and see it as a blessing, if, of course, they are still dealing with a tremendous amount of tension, because even the Palestinians living in Israel, and let's call them the ones that are successful and are living this great life, they have cousins in Gaza or family in Gaza. So, like, obviously it's very, very hard to disconnect from that. And of course, Israel is not in a healthy state with the population it has, right, that are not those Palestinians, right, those other 3 million people. And you're right, we have to figure out how we do that. But for that, it needs two to tango. And
so what you would like, if you could go into the brains of the Palestinian people and erase their memory of their own history, which you acknowledge, you want them to do that. Don't you see how ridiculous that is? Since the whole Zionist project is based on historical.
You just erased all of human history.
You just said basically, I would like them to forget their history.
No, I never said that. Never.
Yes, you did.
Once. No.
Well, you didn't say those words, but
but remember, Ben, when you got super angry for when Yoav said all and didn't use the right words, and now you're completely saying something else. Remember, the good.
You're implying that it would be desirable. That's why you want to have education camps. You just said I want to have education camps so that all the Muslims buy all the Palestinians. I'm just saying it's an implication. You didn't say it literally.
But now you're trying to make it sound like
Let me ask you a simple question.
Well, no.
Let me ask you a simple question.
There's no
questions, right? Yes. IDF's in control.
No.
IDF's in control. Gun to the head. No questions. Get him out of here.
Before you go around and saying camps, how about you first acknowledge all the words of love and kindness I spoke about the Palestinians and my brothers and neighbors? And you don't do any language like this that I'm talking to you right now from 99 of the propaganda heads that you talk about. But yet, even this language for you, all you're jumping on is the things I just said, which are loving and peace-seeking. You turned into, I want to educate people into camps. referencing somehow.
You
that I
said
would-
you want to re-educate people
No, I didn't
in
say I want to
Gaza,
re-educate them. I said they should have Muslim teachers. They need to make sure they don't want to kill
but
Jews.
you're going to
That's
be in
all I
charge of
said.
their education, right?
No,
You're
no,
going to be in
no,
charge of their
no,
education.
I didn't say
yes?
that either. Bring
Oh,
in
okay.
Turkey.
Well,
bring in other
if
countries.
they participate in your program, they'll be
No,
allowed to educate their
Just
children.
don't want to kill Jews. That's it. That's all you need to want to do. Just that. That's the only
Chezi,
requirement.
Chezi, stop now. Stop. Enough. Enough. Let's stop this discussion. It will lead us nowhere.
You are correct.
So this is my stream that I started. So we're going to take the moment to do the grift, and I'm going to promote the book that I've written, where I've thought about all these things in depth, probably, mostly. And just to let people know, I plan to put another stream out because I've recorded 5 chapters that are adjacent to a lot of this discussion in some ways. I'm going to be streaming those later tonight. And if anybody wants, because this is a rough draft, I also just completed a second book that just finished the draft of it. So it's going to take a little while to get out there. But this one, it's for promotional purposes. So if anybody's interested,
What's the title?
The title is Tents Before Temples, Rough Drafts on Building a Culture That Lasts. So, and it's all the stuff that I never learned in church about what makes the world work, and so it touches on a lot of topics. It's a series of essays, really. But if anybody wants to, they can download a PDF of the book here, and
oh, you're giving it away.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get I'm trying to make friends, not make money. I mean, more or less. Well, I do need money too. So if people like it and they want to support me, they can. But
I must add, this gentleman Sartori is a genius. He has a lot to say. I wish it said in a thinner book, but it's
the next one is much thinner.
Can you give us a can you give us a teaser? Why read the book? What's the hook?
I had originally kind of written it, and it's very comprehensive because it's like a worldview curriculum. But my initial kind of idea was to start a sort of a trade school, a sort of discipleship trade school to train people for the church who have like real skills in the world, and really the next book's a little bit more focused on this goal. It's really about a reintegration, because we have all this separation of like politics, religion, and your life at home and your work and all these things, and everything that the digital landscape does to us as people, disembodying us and disconnecting us from each other, and so it's really about reintegrating those things. And a big part of it is that, in some sense, I think the truth is more simple and easier for us to grasp than probably a lot of propagandists want us to believe. I mean, there's a limit to how far the conspiratorial thinking and the subversion can go before it ultimately collapses. And I think that in an ultimate sense, there's a lot still to be hopeful for. And really, the people who will succeed in shaping the next generation are those who work to build something rather than simply tear down the existing structures. So
I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
Sounds cool. Can I just ask you two guys just one simple question? I'm not trying to be a trickster or anything, but I think you could understand this from an American point of view, that we would say, like, the obvious solution, instead of saying like, oh, well, you're going to kill us, okay, is to say, just like in South Africa, where you had an apartheid government, what you need to do is say, from the river to the sea, every single human being in that area needs to be treated with the exact same human rights in a secular state. And then we have to work it out how like everyone can be represented. What is the problem with that? That's the obvious solution from you would understand from an
A
American point of view.
demographic problem. A demographic problem.
Why is it a problem?
Because there will be no Jewish state anymore.
Well, there
Your
will
issue
be-
is no, but the issue-
Majority Jewish state.
Okay, if the
Correct.
point of the Jewish state was to keep Jewish people safe, where are Jews less safe than in Israel? Right? Like, let's face it, it failed as a project. It's only going to get worse.
I completely
And plus,
disagree.
Jewish people don't
reality.
have any more right than anyone else to be safe in the world. It's called like participating in the world.
Right.
You don't have any special protections that anyone else doesn't have.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? We created a state and we made our own protections. We could do what we want. You could disagree.
No,
with
you
us.
can't. If
What do you
you
mean you
behave with your
But I'm doing
state
it.
in a
But
way
I'm
that
doing it.
creates animosity towards others, you
Right.
will get what states get, just like everyone else. And
Which means
you're
what?
getting it.
Which means what?
You're gonna
You mean
if
like
you start
You're
wars,
gonna get called out.
you're gonna get like pushback. Yes.
I guess, yeah. We'll see how that works out.
Okay, but it's going to work out terribly, and it already is.
I guess we'll see.
Well, okay. So you want to see a bloodbath because that's
Nope,
what happens
nope,
in situations
nope.
like
Not
that.
But I
said.
don't understand. I don't understand.
But you say I want to
why-
protect Jews, but you're fomenting, like, obviously, a bloodbath.
Again, I don't know if anyone saw me fomenting a bloodbath, but if that's how you see it,
But what, I don't understand.
Why
I just
wouldn't
simply
you
don't
give
understand
people
why.
rights?
Why are Jews entitled to an ethno state? I don't understand it. Jews can live wherever they want. They can move.
They don't want to
there or
live
not.
anywhere. They want to live in their homeland.
Okay, but
So if
this
I
is
want to
not
live in a
most of these
homeland where
people's
it's all
homeland.
Catholics, can I just take over a land and make Catholics superior and like make
But
Protestants
now-
live in a kind of like a shadow world under martial
we
law?
taking- are we
endlessly?
taking over
It's
a land,
crazy. You're
or
going to get a
are-
bloodbath.
Are we
I
taking
mean,
over a land, or are we recognizing?
Chezi, you've given your one answer. I will repeat my last, and it's my last statement. Jordan Peterson taught us, clean up your room before you go and change the world. I have some cleaning up to do here in my room. I will discuss the subject with you when this clean up is finished.
Do you think that South Africa had a demographic problem, right? Is that the ruling class, which was a racial class, was outnumbered by the class of those who ruled it. And yet we in the modern world said that's not okay. One man, one vote. Every single, pretty much
Just
every
like
other
the
country,
two-
well, at
just
least
like the
nominally
2
says that.
million Palestinians that vote in Israel. Just deal with them. Just deal with the 2 million Palestinians that vote in Israel.
That's right. And if they're a little angry at you because you stole their land,
yeah.
you're either going to allow them to express their anger or you're going to have them express it in a much, much worse way when it finally gets unleashed. You can't do this to people forever.
Do what for people?
Why is
You
it
mean- you-
Oppress
you-
them.
Do you mean the situation of Gaza and like the territories?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. It's not a good
And the
situation.
entire project.
No, not the entire project, but yes, definitely the territories are something that needs to be figured out. You're right.
But I look, I'm an American. I believe that the way that America was settled was unjust. I think
Sure.
we should have been much more kinder and much more gentler with
Right.
the native peoples, though I think they would have welcomed us. And I think that
Sure.
Jews would have been welcomed. But instead, you went the way of violence.
Did I say
And now
that-
you've got people who are angry at you.
Sure.
And
Yep.
you don't want to deal with it. Well, you're going to deal with it sooner or later.
When you say you don't want to deal with it, you mean like the current leadership of Israel?
Well, you're not in Israel, right?
I am.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
where is the nation where the people have always respected like the rights of the land or the people that like, I mean, is there any spot on earth that you can go like that this has been done correctly ever? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
My people live in Norway, like they've lived there as an ethno state, but like without saying Norwegians are better than anyone else. I mean, there are lots of places
so
where
now
people
there's a
just.
place where it's-
Did you
where it's
say
cool
that I say I'm better than anyone else?
But
What's that?
Michael, what does it matter? Even if I agree, a lot of states and countries were established with war and violence. But what does it matter? There's a current oppressive occupation going on. What does it matter what happened in the past?
Yeah, but
do you
what
do you
about-
agree or not agree that that's wrong to do to people?
People should not be
I
oppressed.
agree.
That's
Okay,
like that's
no,
like
no.
if somebody owns slaves and they go, "Well, there was slavery in the past. What's the big deal?" Like, yeah, no shit.
It can be
People
used
change
to
their
say, okay,
minds.
like we're not doing anything different. And it's true that like there were many settler colonial projects. Most of Africa was colonized by Europeans, but like only Israel hasn't got the memo. Like European colonialism is like not cool anymore. And
Okay. Yeah. Also, I'll say it from the American perspective of things. You know, obviously, there was written into our Constitution no specific state religion, because the people who had settled here had experienced the problems and the that come with that. You know, for any minority group. So the idea is that you have to have some sort of a majority in charge, or you know, the majority that gets in charge. The question is, how are they going to deal with those minority groups? And it, just from the sake of the way things work out, you know, from wisdom, if you put marginalizing them, or you know, intentionally limiting their rights and freedoms, you know, there's always the chance that that's going to come back to bite you. Now, I think one of the problems that happened with America is because the lack of specificity in the way that they wrote the Constitution. I don't think the founders ever thought that we would default to a secular, atheist, materialist, neutral position, and obviously that has been very, very problematic. And regimes that explicitly, you know, hold that have been the most destructive. So it has to be.
a lot of the founding fathers were very thin on religion. They were not devout Christians.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
So they believed reason could solve all problems, which of course is idiotic.
well, yes, but I mean, you know, so even if you think like, you know, like a lot of people say, maybe most of them were deists or whatever. Well, the god of deism is one who's not stepping in to fix everything all the time, but he's also not really policing people's behavior a lot either. So, and so I think just the position, you know, has to be what is gained by like if somebody is running their country that's not our country the wrong way, and it's going to result in some consequence of their own destruction, or it's going to be bad for them.
Yeah.
What should we? I mean, maybe we should just let them do it. And
No,
I mean,
Ben would say, why am I paying taxes then? Like, obviously, like, correct. Like, I shouldn't be, at the very least, right? If I disagree with the Israel project, why, as an American, is my country involved with, you know, these shenanigans, right?
Yeah.
And this is assuming, right, that Ben's vision of reality is correct, right? Like, they're doing immoral stuff. There's a genocide, because there could be, I'm sure, things that Ben disagrees with, but let's say, you know, that it seems that it's like helping X economy or doing well. So like, I understand why people are voting for this, but if let's say they're doing something horribly wrong, then yeah, why would America want to participate? And this also leads back to Nick Fuentes and many of his questions, right? Like why are we involved with this? And so
I agree.
Well, and you know, it's like, so, and we're so concerned about the rights of a certain group of Islamic people in this certain one area, when in like dozens of other Islamic countries, people are just leaving. They have all the natural rights to their lands, and they don't want to be there. They want to come over here, you know, like, or they want to come to Europe,
over where?
To America or to Europe.
Generally speaking, Muslim populations don't want that.
Don't want to come over here or to come over to Europe.
Most people stay in their own homeland. I'd just say that it's uniquely Muslim to want to go to
Well,
Europe
where
or
are the
America?
influx of immigrants, especially? I mean, in America, we have a lot coming from the southern border, but
Well, they're driven by the Israeli wars as refugees from their own country, by the incessant, endless warfare of
the ones
a
we also started
psychotic
with Bush, right?
state,
Yeah,
which always starts wars. And yes, they become refugees and look for refuge in Europe. Yeah, like
Ben, don't forget. We had, like, you know, that whole memo that we got, all the other wars started with George Bush. There's also the liberty. Can't forget the liberty.
Yeah.
Ready for that point we were messing around. I just want to make sure that we hit up all the points of
Okay, well, so,
Right, and you
mean,
say those are anti-Semitic points, even though
No,
they're true.
Who said anti-Semitic? I just
They're
said I want to
true.
make
They're
sure
true.
we involved all of Israel's treachery. It should just be very clear.
Yeah. How about
okay,
this
but
one?
Who wants
Israel,
to live, who wants to live in an
Israel
Islamic country? Who wants
introduced
to
the
live in an
world to
Islamic
terrorism. They were the first terrorists. And now, very recently, they introduced the world to like a new form of terrorism, which is like infiltrating the supply lines of products and putting explosives in them. Yeah. You got to own it. If that's a great thing, then you guys are the best. But like, I don't think that's a great thing. Israel's the only country that I know of that revels in assassinating foreign leaders.
It's interesting, though. To me, the most curious thing is that you're not really curious. You know the answers already. So, like, why discuss things with Israelis? You know.
Well, I had a question about Jewish, but like, here's a question to you, Kizzy. You say, I love my Muslim, my Palestinian, right? Why not see them as a gift? Why be afraid of them? Why not say, I think that every Palestinian child, every Palestinian woman, every Palestinian old person, every Palestinian man is my brother, and I want to see him have the same rights as me.
Not only do I want him to see him have the same rights as me, there's nothing more biblical than the focus on the land. And the other thing that's the most biblical, that's constantly railed upon in the 5 books of Moses, is the foreigner living in your land. And I think it's not a coincidence, again, as a messianist, that when I come back to my land, I'm ironically also have to deal with this idea that this foreigner is in this land as well. And you are 100% right that until we don't figure out what the just and you and I will vastly disagree with what the just outcome is potentially, but you're right. If that doesn't get solved, then it's devastation. Correct.
But I would push back. You say there's nothing more like an old Hebrew Bible than being focused on the land. That's not true. The Hebrew Bible is focused on devotion and fidelity to God. It is not land worship. Land worship comes
not
from
land worship. Not
land worship.
Not land
and kinship,
Yes.
European nationalist romanticism.
Yes,
the very people who you claim to be this philosophy you claim to be your arch nemesis, German nationalism. That's where you got this idea that it's all about land and like kinship.
Ben, don't teach Chezi the Bible. You're going to lose. Chezi knows the Bible better than you.
It's not the point.
Well, he apparently doesn't, because he said the number one thing in the Old Testament is this kind of land worship. That's not true.
But I never said, again, Ben, you're so silly. You forgot again to being very specific about your words. Twice you did that, and before you got mad at Yoav, shame on you.
You can correct yourself and say, like, no, actually, the Old Testament is about worshiping God, not worshiping land. But I think Zionism displaces the worship in God with the worship of land.
I didn't say land worship. The place to worship God as a people can't be in a vacuum. It has to be in a land. The only way I could worship God through his fruits is when I grow fruits on a land. The only way I could build a house and shelter for my kids is on a land.
That's Central European nationalism. That's not true. Jews thought for 19 centuries they could be devout Jews.
Yes.
Anywhere.
Correct. You could be a devout Jew anywhere.
Who claim to be the correct interpreters of the Old Testament would say that, yes, you can worship God in America, in Siberia, anywhere. That it's ridiculous to confine worship of God to a particular place.
But who can find it?
You.
When?
You just said you can't worship God except in a particular place.
No, I didn't say that. I said where in the Bible the story of Abraham, take this land. Isaac, go to this land. Jacob, come back to this land. Moses, taking him to this land. Hey, Israelites, if you don't listen, you'll get kicked out of this land. You should pray for the water on this land. If you listen, eventually I'll bring you back to this land. If you don't listen again, I'm going to kick you out from this land. It has to do with this land, because in this land, we are going to worship God. And in this land, when we're oriented properly, and you could decide that that's not the state of Israel, sure, but in this land, when we're oriented properly, we are supposed to be an example of what a nation looks like living its life through God, which is supposed to be an example for the rest of the world to do on their land.
I'm gonna
Our
end the
land-
stream at 3:00 just so everybody knows. Okay.
Yeah.
So-
And what does the world make of the state of Israel right now? By and large, the entire world sees the state of Israel as a pariah state that is a shame among nations. A
You're right.
shame.
It is a problem. Again, I have other interpretations that
You think it's a city on a hill? Like, it's crazy.
No,
Look what's going on there.
You wouldn't disagree with that. You're saying currently, right now, it's not that, or the state of Israel is not that.
The
Biblical
entire history
Jerusalem-
of the colonial project in Palestine, to me, is an absolute scandal compared to like what the Bible teaches us. Absolutely.
I will agree with you that if we end up not manifesting into what the Bible is talking about, then it would have been a huge scandal. You're right.
Well, it's going to end up that way.
I hope not. I really hope not.
Yeah, maybe. But why wouldn't you say, like, well, the first thing we should do is treat people whose land we stole with a little more respect?
But then
Well,
we're
wouldn't that be step one?
Well, no. Well, step one
that's
would
not
be
step one.
No.
But
Step
you just
one-
blah blah blah. I love my Arabs brothers and sisters, but I won't even admit that I should treat the people whose land I stole with respect. That's too much for you. That's crazy.
I'll end like this. Grace, it
Yes.
was lovely. It was lovely talking. Ben, I hope you could understand that the people seeing this, right, don't see you as being like being in good faith. It doesn't mean in any way that there's any malicious intent, I don't think, or there's no malice from me, but like it's very hard for me to play with you in this space. And because of that, and I hope you don't think that this is like me running away or something like that. Like,
No, that's fine. I don't play those games.
But I think that
I think you're sincere, but I think you're wrong.
But it doesn't think you don't think I'm sincere, because if you say that I'm joking about all these
No, I
things-
think you're sincere and wrong. I don't think why can't you be
Sure, well,
sincerely wrong?
So when I sincerely say that Israel has to recognize with the trauma we caused the Palestinians, you should look at that and be like, oh, that is a recognition I want Israel to have. You're right. And I don't
But when
know
I
if-
ask you, should you respect them? You say no.
When did I say no? I do respect them.
I said
respect
step one should be that you
Yeah.
treat your Palestinian brothers and sisters
But we do.
with respect. And you said no.
No, I never said that. I do treat them with respect all the time.
Well, how about giving them equal rights?
They
Isn't
do have
that
equal
what
rights.
respect looks like?
Do you mean, like, again?
They don't have equal rights. They have ID cards that says their
You-
ethnicity, and they can't own 80%
No, but I'm
of
talking about
Israel.
the people
They can't
in the
own the
occupied
land there.
territories. Why
Well,
shouldn't they have equal rights?
But they do have equal rights. You mean
Or a
the
nation
God-
of their own? They
You
have
mean
no
the-
rights.
They could have a nation of their own. We tried and offered many times.
That's a lie. It's just no one believes your lies. I mean,
No,
but
Ben,
okay.
you don't
I know
believe
that you
that.
believe them, but like
No,
the
right,
world
but
doesn't
then,
care.
right. No one cares.
Oh, the owner
Yeah.
of the channel is here.
No, it's even
Yes,
better.
he
I
is.
hope,
Hello,
I
Jacob.
hope-
Hezzy,
hope
Hezzy,
Jacob-
Hezzy.
I'm leaving, Jacob.
No, you don't have to leave.
I wanna
But
leave. I hope
but
you realize.
Ben and Grace may have to leave.
No, one second.
Ooh.
I hope not, but we'll
So 1
see.
second. Jacob, wait. I'm gonna leave. This is a good opportunity. Ben and Grace. Again, I say this, and I mean this honestly. Forget me. Jacob is an anti-Zionist. He could explain what that means if he wants to, but he's very much been like one of those people that you say that thinks Israel is Satan's work and it shouldn't be over here. More Jews are dying over here. It's horrible what we're doing. Okay, now this.
I acknowledge not all Jews agree with
Sure,
Zionism.
that's fine. We
I-
love
I
Jacob, and
totally-
Jacob and I have been in dialogue for years, and I love
Yeah.
Jacob dearly, right? Now, Jacob will give you his day in the sun, so to speak. And then you have to ask yourself, if you end up this conversation thinking also he's full of lies, right? You have to then ask yourself, what is the information that you need? It doesn't have to happen in this conversation for you to change your mind. And ask yourself, is there anything that could be presented? And can you articulate what that would be? Okay?
And you have to ask yourself the same question.
Sure. And I do that all the time. The example would be I'm challenged by this beautiful man over here, Jacob, all the time, every day. And by many people in Israel, and by the fact that I need to live with my uncle, my other uncle, my cousin, another cousin that all died and were murdered, unfortunately, and I have to live in this reality that I choose to live here and raise my kids over here. And am I making a huge mistake? All of those things are something that I have to, of course, think about. But I ask you, please take what Jacob says seriously and consider those things. I wish you guys a fantastic weekend. And
Nice meeting you.
I appreciate your honesty. I mean, I appreciate that be able to have a conversation.
I
think
don't
it's-
think anybody thinks he was lying in the sense of saying something he doesn't believe in just to say
No.
it. Seems sincere.
So I, as has been noted, I don't usually come on the Sabbath, but I am here, and there's a reason for that. My channel is not a place to spread anti-Semitic propaganda. I am not accusing you of deliberately spreading anti-Semitic propaganda. I want to know what you're doing here. You are more prominent YouTubers than I am. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and your agenda.
Well, I'm more the person who wants to be here than my daughter. I have a master's degree in theology from Catholic from a Catholic university. My main thing is like I see the rise, especially among young Catholic men, following a guy like especially a guy named Nick Fuentes.
Very aware of it. We've had streams about Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, so I see these trends, and I would like to have conversations with Jewish people because I think a lot of times Catholics have conversations with Catholics, Jews have conversations with Jews, Muslims have conversations, and I do think it's important to have these conversations and to figure out, hopefully we could find a way to avoid misunderstandings, things that are legitimately like bigotry.
I agree with you. My question is, how did you find this channel?
Oh, it was just randomly fed to me.
Randomly fed to you. Okay.
Yeah, like when you press live.
I see. So let me just say, let me ask you, why do you think Nick Fuentes and his, as somebody with a master's in theology and who I assume is a faithful Catholic, why do you think that this Groyper movement and this anti-Semitism is growing?
I wouldn't equate Groypers with anti-Semitism necessarily, although I do think there are lots of them that are anti-Semitic. But I do think part of it has to do with, like, the reason I don't know if you saw when I came on the channel.
I did.
I don't know how
haven't
we
watched the
define
last
Jewish.
30
I don't know how we define Jewish, but
I watched that, and at the beginning when you first came on, I was I was watching and I was having fun because you were asking all the same questions I generally ask Chazi, as everyone has noted over and over again, because it is a rule on my channel. This is not a Zionist channel. I myself come from those Hasidic groups that you were describing, which are very, very opposed to Zionism. I stopped calling myself an anti-Zionist because the anti-Zionist movement is so anti-Semitic that I could not be a part of it. Now, again, I believe that it is impossible to be a Christian without answering the question, what is a Jew? Because Jesus claimed to be the Messiah of the Jews.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Catholicism and the rest of Christianity are incoherent and incapable of answering that question. That is part of the problem here.
Okay, so I mean, like, that's obviously bigotry right there. So
no, it's not. It's not bigotry.
You don't think Catholicism is coherent?
Yes, it's absolutely incoherent. We can have that discussion if you like.
I also agree with that.
Okay. I mean, you're welcome to say those things, but like, Catholicism is probably the most coherent religion. We have literally a book.
Obviously, we disagree. You are
okay.
But let's go back to my question. Why do you think there's a rise in anti-Semitism?
I think there's a rise in anti-Zionism. I think there's a concomitant rise in anti-Semitism, although I don't think that anti-Semitism is a big problem where I live.
Is it a sin?
If you define it as the hatred of Jews, qua Jews, absolutely.
Okay. Why do you think? Do you believe there is a rising hatred of Jews, qua Jews?
I think people in my generation mistake Zionists and the Zionist agenda for Judaism and all Jews, which is a mistake that Zionists themselves perpetrate by saying they are the
I
homeland
agree
of the Jews.
100%, but that's because I recognize Zionism as a satanic movement, just like I recognize anti-Semitism as a satanic movement.
Yeah.
Do you recognize that anti-Semitism, the hatred of Jews, is on the rise because of Satan?
Yeah, I believe what it is a version of the victim mentality. Just like there are blacks who hate whites because they're white, because they feel like they have some special advantage. I believe there are tons of especially white young men who think Jews are like sort of supernatural and have some supernatural thing. I think that is very destructive and is satanic. I don't think that's the same thing as opposing Zionist like foreign policy in the United States, but like I do get that
Obviously it's not, but that's a straw man that Satanists who call themselves anti-Zionists use in order to entice people into this sin, which is taking over.
You cut out for a minute there.
Well, my point would be like what I'd love to have a conversation with Nick Fuentes. I've had many conversations with his like acolytes. It's very difficult to get through to the inner circle. But what I'd like to point out to him is that I believe Zionists are sort of anti-Jews. They're not Jewish in the sense of the religion of Judaism. They're actually like revolutionaries against it. So like, I think that anti-Semitism and anti-Judaism, anti-Zionism are actually like it doesn't make any sense. Those are not true Jews.
Is your concern where is your concern? Is your concern with the fact that there are Catholics, that the gates of hell are actually prevailing over these supposed traditionalist Catholics? Because I'll tell you why I am so concerned about Zionism. It's because I believe in policing my own and my own community. And what I see is that people scapegoat Jews when really the problem is that the Catholic Church is falling.
I don't think the Catholic Church is falling.
Have you seen the Pope blessing ice?
Yeah, sure. I have no problem with the Pope blessing ice. Well, you laugh, but see, this is your bigotry. You are a bigoted anti-Catholic person.
I am not a bigoted anti-Catholic.
So if you would not laugh at my religion, then I won't laugh at your whatever.
I am not laughing at your religion.
So let me explain something to you. As a Catholic, you laugh at the idea of the Pope blessing ice. I think most people realize, like, priests bless cars. There's a procession in our town where the priest blesses boats. A blessing just means, like, sort of like you're pro this.
What did you think of that of that recent confirmation? Was it of the some newscaster who with his husband came and got accepted into the Catholic Church? Does that
homosexuals, people who have same-sex inclinations are not barred from the Catholic Church by any stretch of the imagination? Yeah.
Okay, I didn't expect them to be barred from.
Are you going to tell me they were married in a Catholic Church? No.
I am going to tell you that from what I saw, and I hope it's wrong, Father Jeff Martin, who says a lot of things.
James Martin,
sorry.
I went to school with him.
And he gets he's seems to be a Catholic priest in good standing.
Yes.
Does a lot of things which, if it was in my synagogue, I would not put up with.
Okay, basically what happened was Father James Martin, what does it say here? Celebrated the confirmation of a married gay man, openly gay man.
And the sponsor of that gay man in his confirmation was his husband.
Yeah. I understand that, like, yeah, James Martin is someone who pushes the envelope a certain way, but he is respectful of the Pope, and he doesn't say anything contrary to the teachings of the Catholic Church. There is a wide spectrum, and generally speaking, the Church has taken a different tone towards LGBTQ people, though the teaching remains firm. I don't know why you say that means the Catholic Church has fallen.
I can jump in here. So because here's the thing, and this is really the reason why I read my book, or why I wrote the book that I wrote, because I have young children and I'm very concerned about their future and the culture that I pass on, and the central part of that is our faith. Now, I received that from my father, who I said he converted, he was born again, so he left the Catholic Church. He left on good terms with his family and all that, and my parents did a good job of transmitting that to me. But if you look at my uncles and my cousins, like, so my grandparents, very, very religious, traditional Catholic. My uncles baptized and confirmed, but very much wanting to participate in that American dream. They're highly educated, very successful. One was a union president. The other one just made a boatload of money in commerce, industry, and so they have kids, and they send all their kids to school.
What you mean is he was in the mafia?
No. He was.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's just making
they were they're very much on the, like, Anglophile.
Yeah, assimilationist. Yeah, sure.
But then you get to my cousins. Two are PhDs. One is a lesbian and a card-carrying communist. Another one's non-binary. And they were baptized and went to confirmation class and confirmed and all that, and it didn't do anything. So, like, somewhere, like, that is not unusual. Like, the great upsurge you see of people, like, when converting, if you convert to Catholicism, you always come in with that new energy, you get the zeal of the convert and all that stuff. But the great, like, mechanism that was supposed to transfer these beliefs down culturally from generation to generation just got so watered down. And
it's not it's not like a machine. I mean, obviously you can individually fall away from the faith. Here might be a newsflash to you. Protestants have had the same experience.
Well, of course. I mean, and that's why I'm not saying, I got the bet. That's
and like, Jews and Muslims and right, like,
yeah. I mean, and those are the questions I sought to answer, is what actually makes the difference. I
have to say, there's a reason I'm bringing this up, right? So Father Eric Seitz, who is the official Roman Catholic priest of my Discord server. Yes, I have an official Roman Catholic priest on my Discord server.
Sure.
Right. And he has a YouTube channel that I support. And I helped him launch that YouTube channel. There are a lot of Catholics who are very involved in our community. And I would love for there to be more Catholics who are
I love that too.
In the community that we have. There's a reason I brought this up. Because if we are going to, in the spirit of brotherhood, to talk about all the problems, etc., that we see in the world that we see, to do relevance realization, to see where Satan is, in fact, oppressing us, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Then I will join with whoever is trying to fight that spiritual battle against Satan.
Yeah.
My concern is, when, and this happens a lot, scapegoating of the Jews takes front and center, right? And the faults of the Jews, and that's exactly precisely, I mean, I was the parts where you guys started talking about Hasbara. The fact that you know the word Hasbara should tell you how much of a failure Israeli propaganda has been. And
I agree.
So there's a very easy reason for that. There are 15 million Jews in the world. There are 2 billion Christians in the world. There are 1.5 billion Muslims in the world. And the Chinese government doesn't like Israel very much. So if you imagine that the propaganda is coming from the Jews, I have to say, I think you're being a little naive. Who is the David and who is the Goliath here? Yes, the Jews have always been the David, exactly like the Bible says. You are the least of nations. We believe until we believe on the last thing Judaism is supremacist. So when you started talking about Israel being uniquely supremacist, I mean, if I am going to be nice, I will say you are caught up in a particular echo chamber where these types of thoughts have not been challenged. But yeah, no, that's not the type of thing that I like, even on my non-Zionist channel, being affirmed in any way. Because let's face the facts here. Israel is actually weak. And my problem with the Zionists is that somebody like Chazi, as much as I love him, has a very hard time actually accepting the fact that Israel is nothing but a cat's paw for the West in the Middle East. That Israeli children are dying for the Council for Foreign Relations. It's not the other way around, right? When Tucker Carlson says the dumbest thing in the world that everyone should laugh at, which is that Israel got us into the Iraq war, right? Anybody who doesn't know that Israel lobbied against going to the Iraq war, right? So these types of things, yeah, you know what Bibi Netanyahu is, as far as I am concerned, he is a yes man to Donald Trump and Keir Starmer and Macron.
I think you could say I think Zionism is a product of European thought, not of Jewish thought.
Depends what you mean by Zionism. So what Yoav?
I agree.
So you said when you said there was no Zionist before, I think you said 1924, right?
No.
Old Yeshuv,
for the late 19th century.
Yeah, that's actually not true. So the fact is that there has been a Jewish presence in the land of Israel since even in after 120.
Yeah, but that's not Zionism.
That's to you. That's not Zionism, and I would agree with you. I don't like applying that. The fact is Zionism is changing, and Yoav is right. Part of the reason Zionism is changing is because so many people were killed. Now, I don't want to really get into why I believe that happened, because that's incredibly painful and it won't go well for the Zionists.
Yeah, agreed.
But the fact is that just as people's views of different political movements change over the years, Zionism has started taking on more and more of a Jewish character, which is why the religious Jewish parties in Israel, Aguda, what's the other one? Degel HaTorah and Shas, right? Shas recently actually started calling itself Zionist, not because it agrees, God forbid, with a Zionist with secular Zionism, but because Zionism has been changing. And so that's what Chezi finds very comforting, because he comes from the religious Zionist camp, which has said, hey, we were here before Herzl. And while I would prefer that we just stop using the word Zionist and accept the fact that Israel is a colony of the United States and simply call it a protectorate of the United States, because that's what it is. I don't believe that Israel has much more of of influence on the United States than Puerto Rico does. In fact, I believe it has less. And I believe its legal status is similar to that of Puerto Rico. The difference is that, yes, Israel claims to be a Jewish state, just like the United Kingdom claims to be a Christian state.
No,
Does the United Kingdom claim to be a Christian state?
not in the sense that Israel claims to be a Jewish state.
Precisely in the same state. In fact,
No.
Israel. See, this is your ignorance showing.
Well, I mean, do we have a
Israeli-
conversation, or you just get a lecture and tell me you know everything about everything?
No. I'm sorry. I thought I was educating you here. You have
But
said,
one
have
thing
said-
about not wanting to appear to be a supremacist is having a conversation
It has
with
nothing
someone
to
who's-
do. No, okay. It has nothing to do with.
Oh,
And
come
yes,
on.
he isn't backstage because I am speaking and it's my channel. If you're here because you want to be educated, I will educate you. I have things to do and places to be, right? I am not here to allow you to be ignorant. If you have questions, that's fine. For questions, I have answers. For answers, I don't have answers. And I'm not going to sit here and discuss with someone who believes that Israel is somehow a different type of religious state than the British, because that's just plain ignorant.
Not beating the stereotypes.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming across as
I was going to end it 10 minutes ago too. So just see.
Well, go away, Grace.
I just want to add to people, this is how Jacob rolls. It's not something personal against you. This is the character that Jacob is.
Yeah, okay, fine.
And you have to love him for what he is.
Yeah, it's no problem. But I'm just saying, like, I'm happy to, if you want to frame it as asking questions, but I would just say that England does not give, like, it would be really not so much England is Christian as England is for the English, right? Isn't that how it works?
Well,
the English people, whether or not they're Christian, but they don't actually enshrine that in law.
See, this is the funny thing about the law of return. The funny thing about the law of return is that why do you think the British have ended up with so many Muslims from the colonies back in England? Because the fact is, the Israeli state very much designed itself after the English model.
I agree with you 100%. Yes.
And to say that Israel is somehow religious in a qualitatively different way than the British is, I'm sorry, it's just ignorant.
I would say Zionism comes from two sources. One is British imperialism, and the other is Central European Romantic nationalism, where you get this idea that you need to be people of the land. You need to get away from the intellectual.
I would go further. It's blood and there are
blood and
aspects
soil,
of
right?
Blood
Exactly.
and soil in
Okay,
it. There are aspects of Marxism in it. It definitely is a thoroughly Western European idea.
I agree. And to that extent, I would say the folly of Zionism is actually a European folly. And I think that that's an important thing to bring to the conversation, because if you say it's Jewish and this is what Judaism is, then people are going to naturally be anti-Semitic to say, well, this is what Judaism is.
No, see, this is a problem. People, I mean, I am not going to excuse people's anti-Semitism, right? If I see Catholics, I have seen Catholics behaving badly. That I do not ascribe every bad thing that a Catholic does to Catholicism, even if I do see how there are Catholic influences. Now, I have to say, when it comes to something like Zionism, which I don't believe comes out of Judaism integrally at all, right?
I agree.
There are certain things which I do believe are faults, which are uniquely coming out of the Catholic Church. I am not a fan of the chastity rules.
But why would you as a Jew have like so much concern with how we run our religion?
Because
I
there's
just don't get
a
it.
billion Catholics in the world.
But you don't understand it from within. Celibacy is a long-standing
I
tradition.
don't understand it from within, just like you don't understand Judaism from within.
Right. So
But
I think
we're
you should be
15
respectful as
million
I'm being
people,
respectful.
and you're 1 billion people.
Okay, so I mean, I agree with Jacob about the problems with the chastity rule. I'm not going to tell Catholics they have to change it, but I think that that's probably one of several things that is the reason why there are still more Catholics leaving Catholicism than there are people entering in. And a lot of and of those who convert, it's still mostly Catholics leaving to.
That's not true. Worldwide Catholicism is exploding, but
Okay,
not so much
I
in
do
the
have
West.
to go. If you
Well,
want,
if we're gonna go,
Yeah.
just end the stream.
We have open just chatting a lot. If you want to speak to me privately, in which case I don't have to worry about what you're disseminating on my channel. That might be a better way of starting a conversation.
Would you ever want to have a debate?
I don't
A friendly
do debates.
debate.
I'll do conversations.
Yeah,
I'm not
like a
debater.
conversation type of debate where we just, maybe.
If you want to invite me on your channel, I would gladly come on your channel.
Yeah.
Just one thing, I have very low tolerance for bullshit.
I think I'm a pretty straight shooter. I don't know. These guys.
For the first hour that I was listening to you, I was like, thank God somebody is deprogramming. You can look at my thing, deprogramming Chazi. The once it got into where you were saying things, which what I can only take in one of two ways: you are very ignorant or you are malicious. Then that's when it became a problem.
Okay. You could have that take on it. It's no problem. I understand I rub people the wrong way, but I think what's important in this conversation, okay, it's important that I take some of your insights as a Jewish person, right? I don't think a lot of Catholics realize that there are anti-Zionist Jews, right? So they just say Zionism and Judaism are one and the same. I think that's a really important point. I'd like to take that back to my Catholic brothers who do number in the hundreds of thousands.
Are you aware of Gideon Lazar, the Byzantine Scotist? He's a Jewish Catholic. He's a Catholic of Jewish. He's traditional. He has a YouTube channel. He does a lot of good work in this thing. I've had him on my channel, and we've gotten into it over a lot of things. He's on Twitter. He might be a much better person for you to.
Okay, sure. But I love what you're saying, and I think you have an interesting personality.
Thank you.
You come across as a little bit brusque or whatever. That's fine.
I don't stream on the Sabbath. Right now, it is the Sabbath. I came on because I saw something that was going on my channel, which I do not want to see.
Well, I mean, sometimes you don't like conversations, but sometimes they're good.
No. I love conversations. I love conversations. That wasn't what I saw. What I saw was somebody who appears to have an agenda. Two people coming on who are experienced YouTubers who were taking advantage of the fact that my dear friends Chazi and Yoav are not experienced YouTubers, and they're genuine, honest people who
I agree.
While I think they acquitted themselves about as well as they could, at the same time, I don't want to see them memed on your channel, which I don't know you well enough to know that they're not going to be.
Well, I don't know if these guys want to say that they think I'm anti-Semitic Jew bashing. I don't really think that's how I came across. I would say my curiosity
came across. That is definitely, and that's what worried me, because I have been involved in these types of discussions long enough that I can tell sometimes there are vipers who are getting ready to spring. And that's what is not.
Well, you might be a little paranoid also, no?
Oh, yes. Guess what? Being Jewish has... I am a refugee in the United States, and I may become a refugee again. So, yeah, being paranoid, yeah.
Sure.
I cop to that. I have PTSD. That's just
Me too.
a fact.
Me too.
That's just a fact. So
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, okay. So I'm happy to talk some other time. If you want to frame it as a debate, I'm happy to do that. I just think it's important if Catholics are saying certain things, I'm not here to protect Jews from hearing that. I think it should be like, okay, yeah, there's more nuance here. I think it's important we have those conversations. I think basically it's an intra-Jewish conversation, but
if you are serious, I expect you to speak with Gideon Lazar because he has a much bigger channel than I do. He
could you introduce me to him?
Of course. Yes.
Okay, so yes,
I see you have a Discord. Feel free to come onto my Discord server. And I will, and he's also on Twitter. Gideon Lazar, Byzantine Scotist, might be the better bridge because I do need to go though.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.
So Ben.
All right, I'm shutting it down. That was going to be done 20 minutes ago. So, bye, everybody.
Sorry, Michael.
All right.
Nice to meet you guys.
How can I contact you, Ben?
We have a channel called Thorp TV. Oh no, it's not. It's called. Oh, gosh, if you look up Thorp, but you'll get a lot of stuff that says we're the worst people in the world. But Thorp, Grace, I don't know, my daughter knows all the. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm yelling at him from the other room.
You just changed the names of everything.
Okay, we've rebranded recently. His channel is called The Daddy Pill, and his Twitter is Ben Thorp Able. Ben THORP Able. So I'll put it in the back chat. Thank you guys for having us.
All right.
It's fun meeting all of you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.